Right, so we are live. It is Sunday, June 11th, and if you are watching on YouTube, timestamps will be in the description. But besides that, we will just wait for everybody to show up here. I suppose we're going to change the mirror. Okay, and we're ready to go. And how is everybody doing? Whew, happy Sunday, everybody who's showing up. Good afternoon, baby doll. Good to see ya. I'm doing well, Kelsey. I hope you're doing well too. Hey, Jessica, great to see you. Happy Sunday. Manandi, hey. Catherine, hey, great to see you too, Catherine. Well, thanks for the hand heart stuff. I appreciate it. Oh, thanks for the heart me, baby doll. I really appreciate it. Hey, Simone, good to see ya. I hope you're crushing it out there in the world for the highest good, of course. How am I today? I'm doing pretty well today. I'm doing pretty well. Maybe feeling a little tired, but doing pretty well, honestly. I hope you're doing well too, Angel. Favorite part of Sundays? Hey, that means so much. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to hear it. Oh, thanks for the... I think Lemon Andy just gifted me. Thank you. Hey, caught you at the beginning of the live. First time ever. Hey, how are you doing? Good to see you at the beginning of the live this time. Happy Sunday, Janelle. We're just going to hang out for a second and banter or whatnot until I'm guided to start these readings, I guess. Yeah. Hey, Sydney. Hope you're doing great. I'm doing well. About to head to the gym and watch you there. That's awesome. Get a good workout in. Good luck on your workout. Good day, Raw Chris. Okay. Happy Sunday, Green Eyes. Some days I feel randomly more nervous for these than others, but I don't think it's mine. I feel like it's either I'm just picking up on someone else or something else, or, you know, something else is coming up, so. Well, thanks for sharing the live, Janelle. I really appreciate it. Hey, Lindsay. Cool. So we're going to start the collective reading soon. I'm sure you all know what's going on here. I'll put these away. I still haven't sound treated the room, so it's still a little bit echoey, but hopefully that works for you. And I'm pretty sure we solved the buzzing from last live with the mic, but if anything happens, just let me know and we'll figure it out, I'm sure. Hey, cool party cool. Good to see ya. Hope you're doing great. Sounds good to me. Perfect. Thanks, Gravy Jones. Why'd you switch? Just curious. Switch what? I'm so sorry. I don't. Maybe I missed. Do you mind? Love your channelings. Thanks, Vicky or Kimatsuri, if I'm saying that right. Thank you. Rooms, because I moved. Because I no longer have access to the other room. But this is a lot better for me. Just need to sound treat it, and it'll sound better for the videos and stuff too. Yeah, no, it's definitely a good move. Definitely really, really like and appreciate and love the new place. So thanks, Sydney. So I think we are going to start the collective reading in just a second here. I might give it 2 more seconds. Drink some water. Ooh, there's like either a me hair or a cat hair in my water. I'm still astounded by how quickly animal hair gets everywhere. Thank you, Siwasim, if I'm saying that right. I'll answer this. Vit Kimatsuri is asking, how am I so good at channeling? One of the answers is practice. I've done a lot of it. I made it one of my main focuses for years. I will be honest, I do also get, like, I was born with it in some ways as well. And that's not to say other people can't channel or get really good at channeling. But it's definitely something I came here to do, is what I'm also getting. So that ties in as well. So I definitely put in the work at the same time. So, and there's a lot of different things different people will say. As far as what I'm getting guided to say now, to put it more all together for you here, it's a combination of me putting in the work and it being something I'm here to do, is the very quick summary that they're giving me for you. And maybe there's more nuance to it as well. But, and I'm not saying if you're not here to do it, that you can't become awesome at channeling, because I think I don't think, but I get that everybody has the capacity to channel. Everyone can learn how. Maybe some people are meant to go further than others, but it doesn't limit any of those people. And there are also just other ways intuition can show up, besides channeling as well. So maybe some people just came in with different gifts or are unlocking different gifts, in addition to their channeling. But a lot of us are just here to do different things. So we'll all be guided on our path to exactly where we're meant to be, doing what we're here to do. So, and again, none of that's to limit anyone else who channels or you or anything. Because I think one of the main missing ingredients that people miss is that you got to put in the work, like getting good at guitar. It could be a little bit different, but getting good at guitar or getting good at anything, I think it's one of the things that some people just don't talk about with this. Some people do, actually. I've actually heard a number of people talk about it. Because like some people do get upset. I've noticed or think I've seen sometimes where some people do kind of get upset when they don't channel like me or another great channeler they've seen like the next day after they've like, I don't know, encountered this or encountered things like that. But it's like, did they put in the years of work to get there? So I don't know. Hopefully that's at least a start of an answer that's helpful for you and everybody. We haven't started The Authentic Mystic. We're just about to start. I was just wondering if you have any suggestions for podcasts to listen to. Just in general, I only have two. Well, let me see if they'd like me to say here. There are probably others that would be good for you. There's a podcast that Lee Harris does that has some really interesting guests. I think it's called Impact the World podcast. Another one that I would recommend if you're interested in the modality Access Consciousness is the Possibility Explorer with Dr. Dane here, if you're drawn to it, and trust your intuition on that, because I think it might not be for everybody here, but those would be two that I'd recommend. I haven't listened to a ton of podcasts lately that I've been into, so. Okay, so can you repeat the last one? Yeah, the last one was The Possibility Explorer by Dr. Dane Heer, Dainheer. The reason I like that one when I'm guided to listen to it is there's a lot of work done just in the podcast because they start doing, what they call the access processing and stuff like that. So it's a fun one. If you feel drawn to it and intuitively drawn to it, I'd recommend it. Okay, they'd like me to start the collective reading. So in just a second, pretty much what we did last time, someone recommended to put the little signs down here so we know what we're on or what we're doing. And I like that. So we're going to do that today as well. I might adjust it so you can see it a little bit better with the chat and all that. Okay. And I apologize if you can't read that. You're welcome, Summer. I hope you're doing fantastic. So we're going to start the collective reading. This is meant to be just for everyone who sees it, whenever they see it. It's meant to be for the whole collective who sees this. And it could be beyond as well, like to people or things like that. And so I'm not going to limit it. I'm just going to let it be what it's meant to be and go out to whoever it's meant to go out to. But I've got channel messages that came through ahead of time, and my spirit guides and the angels and source will bring through any additional information that would be for the highest good to be brought through for you. So the first thing that came through for the collective, and I'll be hanging out with you guys a little bit more between the readings too. So, I'll be chatting with you in a second. But alligator was the first message that came through ahead of time. And I know there's going to be a couple more things they're adding in right at the beginning too, because that's what they're telling me. But with alligator, what came through first and foremost was, being ferocious in a good way regarding your dreams soon. So it doesn't have to be right now, but maybe sometime this upcoming week, or you're going to be called to put the pedal to the metal in some way soon. But, knowing what actions to take and taking them. So this is also not a good time to give up. I feel like that's been a common message recently, the past couple weeks for everybody, which is don't give up on things. Don't give up on you. Don't give up on what you're here to do. Because again, there are a lot of possibilities opening up. And if not now, then it's in the future, there will be higher possibilities, new roads, new avenues for you to achieve your dreams or targets. But right now the message is keep going. Regarding this being ferocious message, maybe just try being a little bit, if you feel called to it, if it feels right to you, being a little bit more aggressive in your action steps. I know for me, and I never want to, well, let me just see what they'd like me to say here. Yeah, sometimes when I come away from, I don't watch as many readings anymore from other readers. I just haven't been for whatever reason, or they just seem to not have been guiding me to them. But in the past, I've come away from watching a reading sometime, and the person doing the reading will be like, yeah, you got to take action. You got to go. You got to da-da-da-da. And then I'll be like, okay, let's go. And my guys will be like, nope, not today. And then the next day they're like, nope, not today. So, but then eventually it'd be like, yes, we got to take action. We got to go. So, trust your own intuition along with this. But what I'd say, they didn't like that I really went through that whole spiel, so I apologize. So to balance that out, what they'd really like me to say here, it's really time for most of you to go and put the effort and work in. And if you don't feel called to it yet, it'll probably be soon. For those of you, which is just going to be a few of you, who feel like you can't do anything, your hands are tied, nothing's working, for you, that small group, I would give it a rest, for however long, until you metaphorically notice the knots around your, the ties around your hands kind of giving you some room, or you notice an action step you can take to give yourself more room or something like that. Because some of you feel like you can't do anything. And for some of you, that's not even entirely true. But for you, that small group, I might give it a break and then go right after that, if that makes sense, because you're going to get your chance, is what I'd say. The next thing that came through here, they showed me a banana. They just said, I really like this message that because there's the banana peel trope where people slip on banana peels, or there's Mario Kart, but they said you won't be slipping. So you might be afraid of slipping, but you won't slip. Things are divinely protected and divinely guided. You don't need to worry. So really great reminder. Of course, probably not literally. Some of you might be afraid of literally slipping, which understandably, especially if you're someone who's older and you don't want to fall or something like that. Maybe that's one of you. But most of you are afraid of metaphorically slipping, or slipping up on your job, at your job, or slipping up with a relationship or something like that. For whatever reason, what I'm getting is it's going to be harder to slip or slip up than normal. A lot of you are going to be divinely protected regarding that. I feel like, as they often kind of bring through, is if you do end up slipping, it's probably because you're meant to, sometimes there's something we're trying to force to happen, and we kind of just keep slipping it, or it just keeps not working. And that's just divine guidance. Okay, maybe give this a rest and try this over here instead, or something like that. Because sometimes there are roadblocks we keep getting as we go a certain direction, where it's just okay, this isn't the direction. Roadblock, 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 roadblock. And it's just trying to the universe is redirecting us to what's for us. So pay attention. But there's an important area that you are not going to slip up on, which is really good. They just said you don't need to worry, so that's good. So as far as something they're kind of bringing in right now, they're kind of showing me like, it looked like a bunch of tied ropes, but then it kind of turned into a net, and it's like falling on this. So the view is like looking up at a net falling. There's like a tree in the background. It falls on this like chipmunk, and it kind of like traps this chipmunk. But this chipmunk is able to like chew through the ropes. So let me see what the message is for you guys with this message I'm getting, this visual I'm getting. 1 second. Again, like we kind of sort of seemed to speak to this earlier, but it might be a bit different. Like some of you might feel trapped, or again, like you can't do anything. But that group of people, those of you tuning in, who just feel really stuck, there might be some moves you can make to metaphorically like chew through the ropes and like free yourself. And maybe you don't see it right away, because this chipmunk might automatically, you know, it's a metaphor for you, might automatically assume it's like trapped the second the net falls. But there's either like holes that it could like wriggle, you know, through to get free, or like parts of the net it could chew through. So I would be looking for ways you can, this sounds obvious, but I would be looking for ways you can get out of situations that you feel like stuck in, because you're not as stuck as you think is something I'm getting, which is really interesting. And like for some of you, maybe it's like working really hard at your job, or you get an opportunity for overtime and you get some extra money and you can like pay down a debt that's really constricting you financially, or like there might be some things you need to put effort into, or like a loophole or something, but there's going to be a way to escape something you feel stuck in for whoever feels like that's the case for them right now with that message. The next message, it's not what I have ahead of time. We'll get to those, of course, but they're showing me an octopus. And in this visual, the octopus is like catching a fish. It's like busting out from this little like rock hideaway it has. It's catching a fish here. They're just kind of saying for you guys, like, you're going to get everything you need. In this visual, in this message, this octopus feels like an abundance. Like it feels like it won't get the fish it needs. It feels like it's in this part of the ocean where opportunity doesn't come its way. It's kind of like ho-hum. But it's actually going to get plenty of fish, or whatever octopus eat. I'm sorry if I'm getting this biologically incorrect here, but the message is pretty clear as far as what they're telling me for this message. Like, some of you are afraid of being unabundant, or like you'll never get what you need or anything like that, but you're actually going to have plenty. So I'd be a little bit patient. Of course, do what you have to do and all that, but you're actually not in the wrong location, whether that's literal to you or metaphorical. I know there are some places on Earth, or even like small towns in the US, where people complain about the jobs that are available or things like that. But again, like, I do feel like more opportunities are opening up overall, like through the internet and online, if you know what you're doing, and if you're looking for it. And, you know, sometimes those things don't work out for certain people because there's something else they're supposed to do. But I want to balance this message out more. I would be patient and realize your abundance is coming. And again, that doesn't mean like don't take action and just like, what's the best way to say this? Because like some of you might be just like sitting around and not doing anything, and that's not enough, you know, like there needs to be some sort of balance between patience and action. But again, the message is there's going to be plenty. So I guess I'd be a little bit patient regarding that here. Next, the message they showed me was a deer. They said to be gentle on yourself. It is more healing to be gentle on yourself than to beat up on yourself, period. So some of you are judging yourself. I think that can be a common thing that people work through or go through, especially like regarding like past mistakes or maybe like a recent mistake. Some of you just beat up on yourself in general, but again, people do that sometimes, you know, it's just kind of what people are trained into. But the message is to try to be gentle on yourself. Again, that's going to be more healing than constantly beating up on yourself. And sometimes, what's the best thing to say here? There's something I watched or read recently, and it was kind of about, the overall theme was about a balance of going easy on yourself and being hard on yourself. Because I feel like I need to be careful with this message. It can, in some ways, propel you to higher heights if you're you have a certain level of, I don't want to say like toughness on yourself, but there's a specific word for it, and it is not coming to me because sometimes words don't come to you when you're in channel mode and you want to try and like human explain them. But let me sit with this for a second here. Sometimes being tougher on yourself propels you to higher heights because you're like working on things, you're trying to be better. Sometimes it's detrimental if it's overly much, and sometimes if you're like too easy on yourself, it's like, you can let things slip a little bit. They're not liking the way I'm approaching this message, so I apologize. I'm going to ask for a better way to tie this all up so we can move forward with the message here. Regardless, what I'm getting is like, if you're being gentle on yourself, regardless of how hard you're like pushing yourself in life, it's going to be better for you. And, honestly, this angle might have very little to do with like being hard on yourself to like get better. It could be more just about mindlessly beating yourself up because of mistakes or thinking everything's your fault when not everything is your fault. Though I do like accountability in a healthy way. So the next message here is they gave me the word shift. They just said everyone is, this is going to sound, I don't know, everyone is shifting. So, but this is like bigger than usual, the way everyone is shifting here. So again, be gentle on yourself as you shift. And they want to hone in on this message where it's like, again, like not everything is your fault. It's like sometimes you just have a day where you need to call off work or something, or you can't work, or you're just like super tired. And sometimes you're just going through a really big energetic shifts or getting a really big upgrade or things like that. And that's not necessarily meant to be an excuse to call off of work right now, by the way. It's just an example, but there are really big shifts happening within all of us. It is a part of the collective up-leveling right now. And sometimes this hits us harder than others, if that makes sense. But right now it might be hitting you a little bit harder than normal soon, or you just might be feeling it a bit more. So be gentle on yourself. And I feel like you'll be feeling better in about a week from whenever you start to notice whatever symptoms you attribute to that. As far as like what those symptoms could be, it could just be honestly feeling lethargic, feeling like you can't do anything, feeling like you need to sit still. It could be different things. And of course, if there's anything that worries you, and you feel like you need to go see a doctor, like I'm not a doctor, go see a doctor. If it's physical and you're worried about it. So there's my legal disclaimer. But honestly, the message is people are shifting in a bigger way than usual right now. And it's might be hitting a little bit harder than normal. Next, what they showed me was this glass dome, and there's a lot of different stories that have kind of played in with this glass dome. I can't remember who the first one was, but I think Stephen King did a book that I didn't really read actually. Back in the day, I think I did a book report on it without reading the book somehow. Either like skimmed it or looked it up or something, but don't do what I did with that. I mean, it worked, but I think The Simpsons played off of it, and some other shows and stuff played off of it. But the message for you regarding this is actually positive, because things are about to be unlocked for you. Like your world is expanding, like your territory is expanding, what you're working on is expanding, etc. So if you've been feeling held back, for most of you, or like, again, like maybe some of you feel like your hands are tied, like you just can't move forward. I feel like that's for most of you going away soon. The way that I was kind of feeling it as they were channeling the message through is kind of like, maybe your work is like only going so far. I mean, you could use like social media following as an example of this one. Like maybe you have like 1,000 followers, but then this like dome metaphorically expands, and then you can fit like 10,000 followers or something like that. And it's not like you're limited and this dome can't keep expanding or anything like that. And it doesn't even mean there's actually a dome, of course. It's just more getting the message across. But I just feel like you're going to have more in your world, whether it's more abundance, more people in your world, more work if you're trying to expand your work, yada yada. You kind of understand at that point. Things are just expanding, but it's positive is what I'd say. And sometimes there can be like more challenges as things expand like that, but I kind of am getting, what I was just hearing is there's not really going to be. It's just going to be more, which I don't think is bad at all. Next thing anything else with that before we move on here? So we're kind of back on this octopus kick again. I'm not sure why octopus is showing up again, but it's a different message here. Let me sit with this just a second longer. It was really quick because they were showing this visual of this octopus going deep, like into like, there's those trenches in like the Marianas Trench, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and all that, where the ocean just goes really deep. And this octopus was starting to go deep, but it was almost like too deep for this particular octopus, and it needed to like actually head up more towards the light. But I wasn't quite getting like what the message was for you yet, so give me one more second where this is going. Again, I feel like I'm kind of getting a similar message to some of the earlier ones where it's like because deep in the water, that's a lot of pressure. So if you're putting like a ton of pressure on yourself, or you feel like you have a lot of pressure on you, some of you need to make some changes where you don't have as much pressure on you. Like you might, an example could be changing jobs. If you're just like, your blood pressure is really high and you're stressed all the time, and maybe you're like not even treating your family properly because you're so stressed about work. But it's like, in some way, I'm not calling you, I mean, I could be calling you out, but I'm not meaning this in like a judgmental way at all. But it's almost in some ways like it's not an excuse. It's like you just need a change. And for others of you, I was hearing like putting pressure on yourself. Like it's like you're putting so much pressure on yourself that's like detrimental, and you need to like meditate and chill out a little bit or something. Find a way to stop putting as much pressure on yourself, because it's like not helping, if that makes sense. As far as where they want to go with this next here, that was kind of the message, honestly. Some of you guys just kind of need to go to a place where you feel less pressure on you, and that might not be all of you, by the way. So the next message here, excuse me, they showed me an antelope. The word they gave me was flee. So I feel like I got a message like this recently for a different group, but the message here is like there are things you're going to be fleeing and getting away from. This is positive, actually, like old energies, old people, and I really hesitate to say things like this honestly in the readings, but one of the examples that came through was like people who wish you harm, which I guess can happen in the world, and things like that. I feel like you're all like, trust your own intuition and stuff. I feel like you're all safe. I don't feel like any of you are in like immediate danger or anything crazy like that with this reading. Trust yourself on all this as well. But, sometimes you're just around people and they don't want to see you succeed, or you just have people around you that are dragging you down. I feel like you are escaping from like old energies though. The other phrase they're kind of showing me with this is, if you're familiar with like the New Earth kind of thing that's been going around here, there's this phrase they're giving me where it's like New Earth is birthing, and that's like part of the escape from these old energies. I remember watching one thing and someone was saying like, I forget exactly how they said it, but they mentioned something along the lines of like, yeah, we're already there. Like it's already here. We're just kind of, and I almost feel like that would be a helpful angle to take. Because I think instead of like waiting, you'll be like creating the new earth, if that makes sense, or realizing you're in the new energy. We just have to create with it or play with it a bit more, or even create even higher, if that makes sense. So we kind of are in the new energy. I feel like it's birthing further. I feel like we're also creating as we go along, like through our intentions, through what we're wishing for, through what the divine wants to give us as well. It could be a little bit of give and take with that as well. And we are the divine is us. So sometimes it's a little bit more melded than, sometimes we're taught or realize, but I think sometimes it's healthy to have a healthy amount of differentiation so we're not getting confused, if that makes sense. As far as why we're talking about this though, I feel like part of the message is like old energies are just going to fall away anyways. It's just part of the process. But as a part of this, you're getting away from a lot of old energies, whatever that is that, would be dragging you down or would be harmful to you in some way, whatever it is. So I think you get it though. So the next thing they're showing me is a ladder. It's like a wooden ladder. And there's like someone in this visual trying to like get a cat down from a roof. So let me see what's up with this here. So with this message here, they're showing, again, there's a gentleman He's in like this blue and white collared shirt, if that's a sign for anyone, and like these trousers. He has like an Apple Watch on. I don't know why that matters, but he has this wooden ladder. He's trying to get this cat down from this roof on the house. But it's like, the thing is, this cat wants to be on the roof. Like, it doesn't want to come down. So he's like having a heck of a time trying to convince this cat to get off of the roof. I don't really feel like the cat is in danger. It's just like, maybe it's actually not optimal for the cat. The message I was hearing is like, sometimes regarding people in your world, whether you're a spiritual teacher or a coach or something, or a reader or whatever you do, could just be like you helping a friend. It's like, sometimes people just like, you just kind of have to leave them where they're at for a time and let them like realize they're not supposed to be on the roof in their own time. And like, then they'll get down from the roof, if that makes sense. You can't always like, well, I feel like I need to quantify this, but you can't always help everyone directly. Like, sometimes you just kind of have to pick your battles and go where you're actually needed and will be effective for the collective. And sometimes that's not trying to get this cat down from the roof that clearly just won't come down from the roof. Sometimes that's tending to something else until the cat realizes it wants to come down, and then you can get the ladder and you can get the cat down, or it can jump down on itself by itself or something like that. So try not to like save everybody, regardless of your line of work or what you think would be the right thing, because not everyone wants to be saved. Not everyone needs it, and your time could potentially be served better somewhere else that's even just serving you, if you're just resting instead of having a tough time for 3 hours trying to get this naughty cat down from the roof or whatever. But you know what? In that example, the cat will be fine. Like, it's okay to leave it up there in this example. And of course, probably not going to be a literal message. Though it would, sometimes like I'll bring through these messages and they turn out to be literal for like a few people. And that always makes me laugh. So, not in a bad way, but. So there's one more message before we move to the next phase of this live here. So they're showing me a dragonfly here. It's really interesting because I haven't seen as many dragonflies this year as I typically would by this time. I feel like I'm usually swarmed by dragonflies in my... So like sometimes I'd even hesitate to bring it through as a sign just because there'd be so many, but I think I've seen like 2 this year. But anyways, with this dragonfly here and this message, let me see what's going on here. I really am getting a message like things are going to be evolving more quickly than you realize, whether it's like just in your personal world, the way things move forward, or the way people around you in your world are transforming, the way you are transforming. I keep getting this message, but it's a time of rapid evolution. Probably will be for a while for all of us, honestly. You might see this play out in different ways as these messages can be layered. Sometimes it's something that's playing out within us or outside of us or around us or all of the above and everywhere. And again, things are just going to be evolving more quickly than you realize. And I guess that's just a heads up. Like things are going to be changing, which... hopefully that's helpful in some way to hear that. But anything else before we part ways here? And I guess to round out, they're also showing me a butterfly. But what's up with the butterfly here? This one's orange, it's kind of like a monarch butterfly. They're kind of talking about how the butterfly can be a little bit dainty or fragile, like physically. But they're like, but yet they persist. So let me sit with this a second longer. I think you think things in your life and world are a bit more fragile than they actually are. Again, like whether it's a job situation or it's a relationship, or maybe, hopefully you don't think your psyche is fragile, but they're giving me that example as well. Like someone might think their like psyche is fragile. A lot of you are doing better than you realize, like in every way, even. Some of you have an accurate assessment, which is, that's good too. Just like certain things are less fragile than you think, and like you think everything's going to break, but the divine really has it held. So just keep moving forward, and again, realize the only things that are going to break are the things that are supposed to break. I'm going to close the reading there. They might round it out with one last message because they're showing me deer again, but I think that was also one of the starts to the next reading. So let me see what's up here. I don't know. You guys are really moving forward. You might not see it, but you are, even if it's just like energetically, and you're going to see those results soon is kind of what I'm getting. Because there was just another message about like escaping, like with the antelope, but this one was more like you guys are just going to be moving forward and escaping from old circumstances. So I'm going to close it there. I hope that was helpful, resonated, did whatever was for your highest good. So helpful. So glad to hear it, Rue. Thank you. Beyond all that here, just realized a lot of you guys aren't going to be slipping as much as you think you are. Again, things are more divinely held than sometimes we give them credit for or we realize. But, you know, those of you who know, you know. And I would just not worry as much as you think you need to, if that makes sense. Because, you know, again, like worry doesn't really solve anything usually. I think sometimes we get tricked into like thinking worry is going to be the thing that saves us. Like if we keep worrying about this, we'll be okay. You know, the news teaches us that. Certain books might, maybe some certain books might teach us that. I don't know, but it's not necessarily true. So do your best to not worry about the things you don't need to worry about. Do some Hakuna Matata things, you know, mindset approach within reason. Okay, that's it. We're gonna move to the fire signs next, but I'm gonna drink some water and just say hello to you guys. Thank you. I love your readings. Thank you. You're welcome, and I really appreciate that. I'm really glad to hear it. Sober girl with the mantra. I love it. I let go of worry, the intention. Ellie, everything is happening for you, not to you. Exactly. Thank you for that reminder. When is the channeling? I can't wait. Yeah, so like the full channel mode is usually something I'll do at like the end of the live here. I mean, technically these messages are channeled. I'm channeling for the readings as well. I know it's not the exact same as like the full channel mode, but we will get there. So honestly, it might be a little bit though. So I don't know if I will apologize for the wait, but I will inform you. Never disappoints. I always get so much guidance and confirmation. That means a lot. I'm so glad to hear it. And so glad to hear it. Absolutely. You're so welcome. You're welcome, Suji, if I'm saying that right. Blessings to you as well. Okay, so I'm going to hang out for just a second. We're going to move to the fire signs next. Ooh. I totally get the energy throughout the live. Heck yeah, so glad to hear it. You're welcome, Jenna. Steph says they feel like a newborn deer. You're saying you are able to walk, but you feel like you're having a hard time getting full control. And what I was hearing the second I read yours was that you will. You will get full control. But they're also saying for some reason like every stage matters. So try not to denigrate where you're at, but for some reason, the message I'm hearing is like, look at it as a blessing that you are where you're at and will be where you will be. I don't know if that's important to hear, but you will get there is what I would say. Keep trying. The messages you share resonate so deeply. Perfect. Perfect. I'm so glad to hear it. Always part of the game for sure. But navigating my entrepreneur path, heck yeah, keep going. So I hesitate to have this turn into start answering too many personal questions and have it turn into a personal reading central, because that can turn into a lot. But someone's asking, it's JDJXJD, is asking, do they quit corporate? What I was immediately hearing was like, yes, eventually, but not right away is what I'd say. Definitely try to have a safety net, make sure you're in a good place. But I feel like you'll know, like when you feel it's time, like you'll know it's time. Amy, hey Brandon, hope you're having a beautiful weekend. I hope you are as well. Thank you. I am so far. Yeah. I love how you said the only things that are going to break are supposed to break. So true. Heck yeah. Thank you. I only caught the end, but it was a great reading. Hey, I appreciate it. You're welcome. And thank you for letting me know. And there's more on the way. And these will be reposted on YouTube, by the way, for anyone wondering. The last one I haven't put up yet, just because I'm still waiting on the internet to be installed and have Wi-Fi, and sometimes the large files don't download very well when I'm just using the phone. So we'll get around to it when it's the right time here. Thank you, Rue. Love the collective reading. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Sarai. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Okay, so they're saying to start fire signs. I might hang out for like one more second, and then we'll delve into the reading for the next group. Yes, the authentic mystic, very much so. Thank you for asking. Yeah. So what signs have been? We just did the collective, so we still have all the signs by element to do. I asked my guides for a sign, dragonfly, and there you are. You said dragonfly. There you go. That's awesome. Celeste, where are you living now? I'm in South Carolina. I'm around Chicago currently, is where I live, around that whole area. You call me the way Bob Ross called me as a kid. I will take that as a compliment. So I'm so glad to hear it, Lady Green. Thank you for telling me. I'm sure you meant it as a compliment or just a statement. But okay, so for the highest good, we're gonna start the fire signs reading. Fully for the highest good, so I'm gonna put the little sign down here. And I know it might not be the easiest to read, but we'll get everything configured here eventually, hopefully next week. So, yeah, Chicago's good. Very much a compliment. Thank you, Lady Green. Bless you. Okay, we're going to start now. So this is, if you have a fire sign, sun, moon, or rising, this is meant to be for you whenever you see it, whether it's here live or it's later on YouTube. And I've got channel messages that came through ahead of time. And of course, my spirit guides, the angels and source will bring through any additional information that would be for your highest good as I read through these for you. So first thing they showed me with this reading was a little bit different. They really loved this symbology for the fire signs because different than what came through ahead of time, they're showing me a volcano here. I feel like there are a lot of, this doesn't have to be negative, by the way, so bear with me, but there are a lot of explosions happening that are like moving you like forward. I'm hearing a phrase like sometimes things blow up just so you move on. I don't think that's going to be for all of you, by the way, but and you know, sometimes there's like positive explosions in our world, and sometimes you feel it's like more energetic, where it's like maybe in the physical it doesn't seem like an explosion, but energetically it's like a big propulsion forward. And like the example that showed up really quickly was like a promotion at work, but it's very sudden. It's just like boom, promoted, you know, or something like that. So there might be certain explosions happening in your world, whether even if it's just like explosive realizations, like, oh, but that like propels you down your path or in a new direction or something like that. But to you, it's like an explosive realization and you feel it very energetically through your system. And you're like, oh, I need to go this way, or I need to make this change like now or something like that. So there's a lot of that going around. The message they'd like me to get to next, they showed me a knot ahead of time, like two ropes knotted together. And, if you have felt like you're all knotted up, like maybe you're like, I can't move forward, I'm all knotted up, or there's just been a lot of tension inside of yourself, like that's going away soon is what I'm getting. So certain things that have been like knotted up are getting unknotted. It reminds me of like a reading I did years ago. And it was specifically for this one, like someone who was doing a lot more like energy healing, like as like a practitioner. And they almost, for her, because they didn't always describe this way for everyone. It was kind of just depending on what people needed to hear, of course. But for her, they described like, I never really liked the word blocks really when it came to energy healing, but they describe blocks as like knots, like energetic blocks, if that makes sense. And maybe that's going to be helpful for some of you to perceive of it that way. And if that doesn't resonate or feel right to you, then just let go of that. But for some reason, some of you might need to hear that, or that's helpful for some type of energetic practitionership, maybe in some way. It was really interesting because I'd never heard them describe it that way before or after. It was just for that one person. But regardless, like maybe you're feeling knotted up mentally and you don't know like a decision to make. It was really interesting because as I said that, they were showing someone, but it was like they had a beehive in their head, which was really interesting. So I feel like some of you feel like you're in danger, but you're not, like maybe even in your immediate physical circumstances, and trust your gut on that. Okay, sorry, I'm getting lost in like the different, I need to let's come back to where they would like to go for this here. Just know you're getting unknotted soon. Next, they gave the word drowning. So this one I might ask them to clarify a little bit more, because this sounded a little bit obvious, this first part, but they're like, now is not a good time to drown. So let's get to the rest of it. They said, if you feel like you are drowning metaphorically, like take a step back and like reassess your schedule, your life, like your commitments, and see like what needs to change. Like some of you, or maybe a lot of you, might be accommodating the needs of others too much, especially if you're someone who feels like you're drowning all the time. Might not be all of you, by the way, tuning into this, but for those of you who feel like that's the case, like what needs to change is the question. Like, do you need to cut hours at a job? Do you need to let go of a certain commitment? You know, maybe an example would be like you committed to helping a friend's dog or something, and you need to ask your friend to find someone else to do it, because you can't do it if you're taking care of your kids and your work, and then the dog is like puking on the couch, and I don't know. It's just, those are just examples, of course, but you understand, like, it's just, if you feel like you're drowning, you should probably change something is kind of what I'm getting. And if it's like financial, because they're talking about that, if it's financial here, this is going to sound very obvious, but if there's a way you can cut back spending, if there's a way you can help yourself out with that, just try it. You know, not financial advice, legal disclaimer, but you understand. And I know that sounds obvious, but I think sometimes we just need the reminder, or we're just afraid to take the steps to try something. Next, so alligator came through as a symbol both for you guys and in the collective reading, but this one was different. The angle for the message for this one is that you are safe, and like to really stop fearing. This is particularly strong if any of you are afraid like about a job loss or something like that. I feel like you're safe for whatever reason, like the necessary steps will come, or, you know, some of you might be afraid of losing your job and you won't. Some of you lost your job, but you think you're not going to be okay, but you are. You know, maybe there's a very select few of you that applies to, but, you know, a lot of you are safe, don't need to worry or fear, or all of you is really what the message was saying. Next, there was a bit more with this alligator, though, because the next part of the message with the alligator was they kind of had me put alligator/monster, and they gave me the word like kaiju, like from a Pacific Rim or something. And the message is like your fears might be like rearing up right now, even if it's just like internal and it doesn't make sense, like just so you can work through them and like get to a better place. So sometimes the universe is like, okay, you're in a safe place right now. Now's a good time for you to work through this, you know, now that you're actually safe, so you can get to a better place internally and externally or something like that. Not always, of course, but sometimes. The thing that this is reminding me of actually was a thing I heard from Lee Harris, who's a channeler, and he was talking about how sometimes when there's either like trauma you've been through in like a relationship, it's like that trauma doesn't like come up and out as much until like you're in a safe relationship that's actually safe for you to be in. It's like, okay, now that you're in a safe space, it's time for this to kind of come up and out, you know, and for you to release that. So it kind of seemed a bit similar, or maybe it's exactly the same for some of you, honestly. It's exactly what you're going through. But that's pretty much what that was reminding me of, that I figured I'd say. Because I feel like that can be helpful information sometimes, because sometimes you're just like, why is all this stuff coming up now that I'm in this safe relationship? It's like, oh, it's because you're healing. And anyways, what else would be highest enough for us to get to here? There should be a jellyfish next. You know, some of you might feel like you're just floating along in life, like just letting the currents take you wherever. But I actually feel like you're moving very intentionally, or the universe is moving you very intentionally. It's like you're actually going a very specific direction, even if you feel like you're just kind of meandering through your world. So, you know, sometimes the universe just has things taken care of on a grander scale, and we don't see the fuller, bigger picture of what we're a part of. Until it's too late and we can't mess it up anymore. It's a joke, kind of. But, you know, like a jellyfish might not realize it's in this big current that's taking it to this specific location. So it can show up for this specific, I don't know, the example I'm getting is like show up for a specific diver on camera and be like a sign for people, like either in person or on social media. And it's a way the universe is communicating. But and it's kind of like same with you, but probably on a larger scale. Like you may or may not end up being a sign for someone else. You know, just with a shirt you wear, or you driving your license plate down the road, or whatever. And you know, the universe already has it all worked out, so you don't have to worry about it. The universe is infinitely intelligent, infinitely wise, already has these things pre-planned, and arranged. So, and sometimes I like to not over-explain that or get too in my head about it, because if I just, what's the best way to say this? If I stop trying to find a specific explanation for the way it works in my brain and let go and let it be what it is and go with either my intuitive knowing or a different way, or just let go, it just seems like it can be more magical. Like there's less, it seems like there can be less constraint on it. I don't feel like I'm explaining this right, because I'm sorry, I'm going to take a step back. But all that to say is, you're actually moving forward really intentionally, regardless of what you think for most of you here regarding how you're being arranged or positioned. Some of you already know this. Some of you, like, your purpose is a little bit different, and it might not, like for like two of you or a small handful of you, it might not fit into that message as well, but you know who you are. Is what I'd say, because you're already getting the messages or the knowing somehow. Next, they showed me moon, and they also gave me the word moonshine, but I know moonshine is like an adult beverage, but it was funny because the visual they showed me with the word moonshine was literally like the light coming off of the moon, like the shine of the moon. So, but the message is like you are exiting and the tarot aficionados will know what this means. I might have to explain this a bit more for the rest. And most of you will know what it means, but exiting like a moon phase where things were like confusing or didn't make much sense, or maybe you didn't know which way to go. The other message is, again, like this message, like not to worry too much about what's leaving your life along with this moon phase. Maybe some of you like the darkness and confusion, but I would advise you to let go of that for the few of you that is. But anyways, what this is really saying here is, I feel like there's going to be a bit more light and clarity is part of the message. There's going to be less confusion. And again, sometimes the universe keeps us in the dark, so we're not going in the wrong direction. Or, you know, maybe it's kind of like being in the car at night, and you're kind of not sure where you're going. Someone else is driving, like your mom is driving or something, and you kind of get to your destination, you know, and you wake up and you're like, where the heck am I? Like, where are we? But it's like exactly where you need to be. So kind of like that, maybe in a way. Before I like over explain all this, next they showed me again, deer came through again for you guys, which didn't come through in all the readings. I think it was just collective and fire signs, but this one, what they showed were like the antlers of like the buck. And, what they kind of talked about was how even like male deer, you know, what the horns or antlers and stuff are territorial. Sorry for the pause. So it's really okay to like defend what is yours, if that makes sense, or like to kind of stand your ground, stand up for yourself. The message is a reminder not to be a pushover. It's a reminder to have healthy boundaries and not lack them. Like it's okay to stand up for yourself. You don't have to be a predator necessarily, but you can avoid being spineless. Because certain predators like might not mess with like a male deer that is like on his guard and like ramming him with antlers and stuff. Like he might nope the heck out of there, you know. So, you know, sometimes the prey, if we're going on a more metaphorical track, are just the people who won't stand up for themselves for whatever reason, or in some way they learned not to, and that stuck with them in some way. So don't be prey is what I'd say. Like have your wits about you. You know, honestly, one of the best ways to not be prey is that I'm hearing right now is like intuition and like following your intuition and trusting it and like what you're getting about people. It reminds me of this one time where, what's the best thing to say here? Okay. There was like a job that at like a metaphysical shop that I wanted, if that makes sense, or I ended up getting it, and this was part of the lesson. But I remember there was one time I saw this lady, and she was just standing in a corner, and I couldn't, I think I thought she worked there, but I wasn't sure like what her role in that shop was. And she like stepped forward, and I looked at her. I'm like, I don't want to ever work for that person. You know, it was like just the thing that hit me. It was earlier in my journey, so I was still maybe learning how to listen to my intuition better. And what ended up happening is I started working there, and she was the owner, and that was so dead on accurate. It was not good. It was really cool an experience as far as like the shop itself and like being around the crystals and all that. But as far as like the ownership, bad. No bueno. Very dark. And you'd think that people would know better if they're in that role, but I don't know. They just, and she might have just had certain psychological issues or things like that. So there are things that could have played into it like that. But anyways, let's move on from that, and let's make sure none of that energy gets in here. It won't, is what I'm getting. So anyways, trust your intuition on like that and on people and like what you're picking up on. Intuition's a way to not be a prey because you'll know things. So you can kind of step back from being in that role, and hopefully none of you are ever in that role ever. Next, what they showed me was a snake. And honestly, what the message is like, you are just leaving a lot of negative thinking behind. So it might surprise you how much of that you leave behind and how much you leave behind doing that. But it's going to be very positive is something I'm getting. And again, like negative thinking, usually something that's trained into us. You never, to my knowledge, and I don't think they're going to correct me on this, and I'll let you know if they do, but you never see a tiger out there in the wild, man, like just lounging there like, man, I suck. I'm just such a crappy tiger. So bad at this. They just like be a tiger and do their thing and do what I'm going to say programmed, but I think I mean it a bit more genetically than I do like societally, but like do what they're meant to do what they came here to be and do, be what they came here to be. And, usually the negative thinking is trained into us and somehow by parents, by what people want us to think, by the news or by advertisements or whatever. And there's so many people out here working to undo that, like psychologists, even like personal trainers, I guess, coaches, all sorts of walks of life and people who are in trades that are, meant to better others or help out people better themselves rather. So, but I just feel like you're leaving all that behind, and I feel like you're doing it really quickly, and it might be uncomfortable, but it's the right move. So, I would definitely do everything you can to leave behind negative thinking, which sounds very obvious again, but it's just the message, and you're going to be, is according to this. So that's good. I don't know. I'm getting this message again. Like this came through in the collective. It's coming through for this group as well. Like some of you are really afraid of like being in a stuck position and like not being able to leave. I feel like you will be able to leave. But I also feel like some of the personal shedding or work you're going through is going to be part of you leaving for some of you. Maybe not all of you. Might take a bit of both. And it might be different depending on your circumstances, of course, too. But some of the shedding you might be going through with this is also helping you leave certain like physical circumstances as well, for some of you. Next, they showed me a dragon, and the word was powerful. I like this message. They just said, you are more powerful than you realize, and the universe will show you that. So you might be getting some type of proof or evidence that you are powerful. Like maybe you ask for something or manifest something and it happens, but it's like really big. It's like maybe it even like affects a portion of the population in some way, and you're like, oh wow, did I have a role in that? Did I do that or something like that? Or some of you are just like asking for things and they're starting to show up and you're like, oh, I can do this. Some of you are like energy healers and things like that, and you're going to be getting like really amazing results for people, or maybe it's for yourself or what have you, but you're going to be getting some type of proof that you're powerful, I suppose. And once you have that, you can like move forward with that, like more confidently. Be like, okay, I can have an effect on the world. Like once you learn how to manifest something, it's like you can keep doing that and working with the universe on it and getting better with it, and getting more potent, getting more powerful, if you will. So I feel like that's all going to be good here. Next, they had more messages with dragon. They said dragon too. I'm like, okay, more with dragon. But they said, you are leaving the old world behind. So another one of these messages, you are not going to be the same, but you are markedly leaving some old things behind soon. So we've kind of been on this groove here today with the collective and with the fire signs here, where you're just like leaving things behind, negative thinking, patterns, people, job situations, jumping in as a potential example. Like there's just a lot you might be leaving behind, but it's like the best move, honestly. And sometimes, I don't want to put this on it all the time and limit it, but sometimes you have to kind of make space for things before new things can come in, or the higher manifestations come in, or the higher, you comes in. So if you feel called to like clear things out of your house, or physically purge things, not like bodily wise, but like belongings and things like that, or do some, I know we're in summertime in the northern hemisphere, but do some spring cleaning or something. Could be a good move as well if you feel called to that, but not all of you will. That's what I had ahead of time for you all. I feel like there's more with the jellyfish message though, so let's see what's going on here. Some jellyfish have like the stinging thing. So like the man of war jellyfish would be a more extreme example because they, kill people. Well, I don't think I could say that on TikTok Live, can I? They unalive people. Right? But I feel like you guys are like afraid of being stung by life, but it's just not going to be as big of a thing. Like a lot of you are escaping the sting. I feel like some of you are afraid of being like stung forever by life, but it's like not going to happen. It's like, it was just a phase. Or it's just a phase, if that makes sense, but you're escaping from that, which is good. Last thing, or one of the last things they're showing me here is a dog. Like, it looks like a brown Labrador kind of dog, or like a retriever of some sort that you would take hunting with you. With this dog, kind of like, how dogs will play fetch. So like they'll go get things, they'll bring it back. It's like this dog is like, bear with me for a second, fetching things for you, but it's like, it's not necessarily things you threw. It's like things you need. It's like, for example, this dog might go fetch like a weapon you would use for hunting, and like you need to gather food. This is an example, by the way, metaphor. And it brings this thing to you, and like, oh, this is, and like as you sit with it, like this is exactly what I need, and then you're able to go get food, and then it brings you like a hat, and then it's like really sunny the next day. You're like, oh, this is going to keep me from getting sunburned while I'm out in the wild, or things like that. It's like the universe is just kind of like fetching all these things you need right now. You might not have to do much to bring these particular things in. It's just kind of like what you need is coming in, is kind of what I'm getting. Next thing they're showing me, which I hesitate to bring this into it, but if you remember those Bible stories where I grew up Catholic, so I remember a lot of the Bible stories and all that. I'm not Catholic anymore, probably, obviously, but there's this, the stories where, the dudes would be all like fishing in the sea, and Jesus is like, oh, throw your net down the other side. And they're like, no, we haven't caught fish all day. And then they finally do, and they catch like a whole net of fish or something like that. Just make sure you're really trusting the universe and like what you're guided to do. You might get some really surprising results just following your intuition. For those of you who are already in a place where you're following your intuition and divine guidance and things like that, like you're gonna get very surprising results, and like you're just going to have everything you need is what I'd say. For those of you who are newer, maybe you aren't sure how to follow your intuition yet. Like, I wouldn't worry too much. You'll be taken care of. But what the message is saying for you guys, let me sit with this for a second here. And there's another message beyond all this as well. I would just make sure you're really following to the best of your ability, like the signs of the universe, like the ones that are like clearly a sign or synchronicity for you. I don't know. An example would be like if you see dolphins everywhere, you're like, why am I seeing dolphins everywhere? And then maybe you watch a reading on YouTube and you're like, oh, you're going to meet a new friend soon or something like that. And maybe they mention dolphin, maybe they don't. And then like you meet someone and they have like a dolphin tattoo. It's like, that could be significant. That sign, because you kept seeing dolphin. You're like, why dolphin? And then you see the dolphin tattoo. I do feel like sometimes reading the signs can be easier as you are more like intuitive, as you ramp your, hone your intuition in more, and all that. And you'll be able to start, I don't know if perceiving is the right word, but feeling, knowing, seeing, perceiving, whatever it is, the energy. So like you'll know when things are signs often because they have like an energy to them where like, this is a sign. which I'm not explaining it very well, so I'm going to rewind a second. Let me see what they'd like me to say here. I would say this to anyone, but just make sure you're doing your best to follow your intuition, signs, synchronicities, things like that. Beyond all of that here, what they'd really like to get to beyond all of that here, you might be called to like switch up what you're doing in your world just like a little bit, but it makes a huge difference. Kind of like throwing the net to the other side of the boat, and catching all the fish or something like that. Like maybe an example is like you're trying to find a date and you're on Tinder and like you're not finding anyone, but then you try Bumble and all of a sudden you get like 12 matches or something like that. Or maybe you're trying to find work in your state, but you actually need to move to Wisconsin and you'll find a job within seconds the second you look or something like that. So maybe that wasn't the perfect example, but hopefully you kind of understand what I'm saying, where it's like there might be some little tweaks you're making or called to make, and it makes a really big difference. Like maybe it's just like one word. Another example could be like, like on TikTok, one of the things people will talk about, and there are certain people that talk about like growing on TikTok, and I put very little stock into what they're saying, but sometimes there's tips that are actually helpful. And I think the other thing I always want to make sure I'm doing is this lining up with my integrity, and what I'm being guided to do first and foremost. Of course, those two things are important to me at least, and I think they'd be important in general. But the way you start a TikTok can be important as far as like getting people to stay a little bit longer. And then that like helps the algorithm be like, oh, people are staying for this. Let's like boost this out a little bit more to more people. So maybe it's just something like as simple as like the way you start videos if you do social media or something like that. So or the way you do business or something that's on your homepage on your website. Like there could just be very small tweaks you're making that make a big difference. And I'm not trying to send you on a wild goose chase to find all the small things to change in your life. Like just pay attention to what shows up in your world. Like maybe some of you already know, like you're already getting the intuition or the messages. Maybe some of you will see like just different videos or signs like to pay attention to this area, and you'll be guided on the tweak to make. So just pay attention to what shows up in your world after this reading. See if anything kind of hits on that to help you make those adjustments. But I feel like you will be making those adjustments. They'd like me to end the reading there. I feel like I've been going on and on a bit, but hopefully that was helpful, resonated to whatever was for your highest good. The last message here before we end it for good, they're showing for this live, they're showing me a liger. I personally kind of don't like ligers because they sort of shouldn't exist. Like genetically, they can sometimes have problems. But as far as what the message they want to bring through for you is, let's see what's going on here. I feel like you're going to be separated from the things you shouldn't be merging with, if that makes sense. Like it could be like a TV show that has energies that aren't good for you, or ideas that aren't good for you, or reading the comment sections on videos and it keeps triggering you or something like that, maybe I was going to say something about maybe the lives can be a little dangerous for that one, because anyone can pop in here and within reason kind of say almost anything. And I mean, you can set parameters on like the things to filter out and set boundaries that way. But, if there's anything you're merging with that you shouldn't be, whether it's people, again, like the example of a job shows up a lot, but a job, something like that, or just even small little things, like it's going to start, universe is going to be separating you from it, so you don't have negative effects, I guess, from that merging. Kind of like a lion and tiger probably shouldn't merge as much as humans have forced them to. Okay, there's one more thing I want to go back to here. Okay, I feel like you get it. Let's just end it. So hope that was helpful. I'm going to hang out for a second, and then I'll say hello to... It's Napoleon's favorite animal. That's why I don't like it. Napoleon. That's a joke. I have no beef with Napoleon that I'm aware of. Resonated. Thank you. You're welcome. Been using your discernment and intuition. Perfect. Always recommended. Cool. Napoleon Dynamite. Yeah, that's better. I thought you meant, I don't know why I thought you meant, in my human brain, I thought you meant Napoleon the general for some reason. And I was like, Napoleon. And I was like, I don't know why I thought, but yeah, Napoleon Dynamite. I actually thought that movie was hilarious. I used to love that movie. I haven't watched it in years, but Thank you. Made a lot of sense for this fire sign. So perfect. I'm so glad to hear it. You are welcome. Vote for Pedro. Yes. Man. I mean, a lot of the times, like, I'm guided to just keep doing this, of course, but sometimes my mind wanders to like, what other things could I be doing with my life? And the idea that I probably won't be doing was just like, what if we just did like watched movies live and just commented on them, like kind of a thing, or like oftentimes I'll think about like I don't know, like Twitch streaming or like streaming for gaming, but every time I got you like, nope, let's not. So there's some reason I shouldn't be doing that. It's probably just not going to be my crowd. I'm sure some people would be, but maybe they're just trying to keep me focused, probably. Do you play ESO? I am not sure what that is, but and maybe I'm sure that's an acronym for something. I just don't remember what it is. I like to mute late night commercials and narrate. I love that. Elder Scrolls Online. That would be fun. I used to love those games. We have not done the air signs reading yet. We just finished the fire. We're about to go to Earth after we hang out for a second here. River says, thank you. Repeating messages of leaving things behind resonates, with people in a job and separation began. I hear you, River. Hang in there. I feel like, it's the right move, but hang in there. Thank you for doing what you do. You're welcome. Conscious Motherhood with Denise asks, should you listen more to your rising sign or your sun sign? Honestly, I would listen to excuse me. Let me see what they'd like to say here. What I'm hearing is like potentially both equally, or just whichever one you feel drawn to more. But they're meant to resonate equally as much, if that makes sense. It's like, if the reading's for you, it's for you, is kind of what I'd say here. But, some people feel only, I've talked to people and they'll be like, I only listen to my sun sign. Like, that's the only one I feel called to listen to. I'm like, okay. So I also kind of trust you guys and what you're drawn to. But if I were going to try and give a dichotomy, the other thing I'm hearing is just whichever one resonates more, honestly. But oftentimes when I watch a reading and the reader is doing like a sun, moon, rising type thing, it resonates equally for me. It's not really more or less, but maybe some people would dispute that, but that's been my experience personally. And all that's more what I'm getting to say. Along those lines, at least. Whoop, I missed a... That's a good question. Celeste is asking, how do you read the energies of movies and shows to tell if they are for you? Usually my guides will just tell me. For me personally, just like ahead of time, I'll just be like, usually it goes like this, like, I'd like to watch a movie. And they're just like, nope. Like, never mind. It's just not the right move for me at the time. Or I'll be sitting with movies and they'll usually kind of tell me what movie would be good to watch, or they'll flash one into my intuitive visual or something like that. And I'll end up usually watching that movie if I'm guided to watch a movie. But other than that, if you're like newer to this, I feel like usually you'll know, because what's the best way to say this? The one thing I noticed is because there was a story time, there was a period of time where I didn't watch a lot of movies or TV, because I lived like in North Carolina, like where there was no internet service or like cable or anything like that. Like there were like 2 locations I lived in that were like that. And, so I didn't really have as much direct access to that. I had internet when I was like at work, or like I drove into town, or I had like cell service, but, so I didn't even have cell service in 2 of my like living situations for like a year plus, I think. But what I noticed when I kind of got back into having internet and watching shows would be like certain shows would just energetically feel heavier to me, or I would just kind of notice energetically I didn't feel as good after watching it consistently, or like I'd have more like just negative, like lower like anxiety or anxious thoughts, I guess, which I might have also been me picking up on other people, but I feel like you'll notice it just kind of how you're feeling energetically. And like sometimes you're just okay and it doesn't really matter. But if you're like consistently watching something and you just notice yourself feeling worse, doing worse, your energies feel worse, like, and most of you are going to be fine, by the way. You'll probably just kind of either know what to watch or you don't need to worry about it right now. Probably is what I'd say. For me right now, I personally am not very, and you might have a different frame and it works differently for you, but I don't personally enjoy horror movies. I don't personally like super violent movies that are like overly violent. I hate personally gore. I always hated gore, and things like that. But, I can watch Marvel movies. I like Marvel movies usually. Maybe not every single one, but I would just trust your intuition and how you're feeling, honestly. I feel like I'm not explaining this very well because they're kind of saying I'm not as I'm trying to explain it, but I hope that as a starting place that helps. You're probably fine though. It's either you kind of get the intuitive message ahead of time or you just notice how you're energetically feeling before, during, after, and go based off of that. But some of you just don't even need to worry at all. Every time your videos come across my feed, it helps so much. Thank you. You're welcome. So glad to hear it, Jazzy. That means a lot, and it's always part of the game. Love these Sunday sessions with you. Thank you. You're welcome. So glad to hear it. It was great hearing your thoughts on it. Yeah, at least I tried. I did my best. Oh, it's interesting. Kara says Stanley was deeply spiritual. I would believe that. One of the things that I checked in with a while ago was I would kind of check in and be like, okay, were any of these like characters for like the Marvel movies like channeled? And I always get yes. Some more than others. Some storylines probably more than others, depending on the writer. But there's a certain amount of it that is channeled, which I find very interesting. Probably like for that time, and for the people who would be reading it, and I don't know, that's very interesting. But I hear you, Lainey, regarding that movie. Yeah, some movies are hard, just depending on like probably the intention that the people who create it put into it. I think can be big, things like that. Kara, all their costume colors show their personality traits. That's true. That's true. Okay, so I'm being guided to start the next reading here. So, I'm just knocked over a little selenite tower I had down there. I'm gonna drink a little bit more coffee and water, maybe. Yeah, I hear you, Green Eyes. Especially since I was a kid, I was like super sensitive to that stuff as a kid. Just like anything slightly scary, even things that probably weren't even scary. I just. Okay, so we're going to start the earth signs. So many messages of divine nature. Go on a deep dive. Oh, with Marvel? I love that. Okay, so earth sign, sun, moon, or rising. If you have an earth sign, sun, moon, or rising, this is for you when you see it live or on YouTube. I've got channel messages that came through ahead of time, and my spirit guides, the angels, and source will bring through any additional information that's for your highest good as I read through these. So, first thing that came through for the earth signs ahead of time, they showed me a mountain. And there's a couple different things that we'll get to with this mountain, because there are a lot of different messages One of the things that, okay, never mind. With Mountain, they said if you are trapped in a difficult situation, you will be getting out of it. So there was also just a reminder, like, challenges in life are okay. Like, you don't have to erase all challenges. For some of you, it might be you just have to get stronger in certain areas so you can defeat them. So, and also sometimes regarding challenges, it can be a mix of like, getting stronger and also eliminating some challenges that allows for life to get better. And you know what? I don't want to limit it. Maybe you can get rid of all your challenges and life is just easier. Maybe there's just a different framework that works better. I think sometimes we have these human words and these languages, and it paints the picture a certain way, the way the words exist and their definitions. But what if something else is possible beyond the words, where we don't have to have things like challenges, or we don't have to have things that are limited to the words we use, but we can kind of go up above and beyond it and create a higher reality with energy. So I wouldn't also limit things to just the words. I'd also be considering or asking what else is possible. What's possible beyond this that's better than this. I'm getting a really interesting question. It's like, if words didn't exist, what else would be possible, or what would be possible? In some ways, I don't like that, because I think maybe this is more on the human level. I think like words can be helpful with communicating with people, but it's usually the energy behind the words that, if you're listening to that, like, you'll get so much more meaning out of what people are saying and where people are at than just the words, if that makes sense. And I feel like people are getting better at reading the energies of like text or like novels or whatever as well. And the more intuitive you become, the more awakened, probably, the more you're going to pick up on the energy of like text messages and just text and things like that, and feel people's intentions and what they're saying and all that. It doesn't mean you have to be, maybe you feel like you have to be perfect all the time, but it might just be something you gradually step into. I'm not sure why I'm on this note right now. But for some reason, I'm getting this message, like, try not to limit things to words. It is very interestingly what's coming through. Next, they showed me a helicopter, and with the helicopter here, there was like this helicopter kind of flying around the mountain, and it had this rope, and they gave me, it was like a pararescue kind of deal, if that's the right word. And the message is like, you are being rescued from difficult situations. The universe is throwing you a rope, or like life preserver, could be metaphorically, of course. So things are going to be okay. And this could be about anything, is what they said. So you are being rescued from, like, I got the weird sentence, like, you are being rescued from certain destruction, whatever that means for you. Some of you, it is a job or something like that, and you're being pulled out of a difficult situation. For some of you, it could be a relationship. And for some of you, it could be something you're not even aware is going on, but then, like, it happens, and then the universe pulls you out of it. You're like, oh, okay, I guess we're fine now. I really feel like you're going to be fine. None of this is meant to freak you out at all. To the contrary, it's really meant to be helpful. So if you are freaked out, you probably didn't hear me properly, or you might be reading into it too far in some way, is what I'm being guided to say regarding that. Because none of this is meant to be like detrimental, or none of it's meant to bring you down. None of it's meant to make you freak out about anything, of course. It's so meant to be helpful. But for whatever reason, you're being pulled out of a difficult situation, and the universe is making it happen. And it could be like through a friend, through like a father figure, through family, like sending you money. Like there's a lot of different things. So it could be the universe working through someone. Sometimes we forget that the universe is like all things and works through everything. And so that helping hand that's extended to you from a family member could be the universe offering like the help that you asked for, and maybe vice versa. You're the help for someone else, and the universe is working through you. But you'll always be rewarded for that. So just keep that in mind. And it can work through the circumstances, through a company, all those things. And sometimes we go through these different phases where we're kind of dancing with the universe a little bit. We're like, we're in this company for 2 years. We learn this thing. We're protected from this thing out here for those 2 years. Then when this is about to collapse, the universe sends us over here. We're over here. We're taken care of in this way. We're nurtured in this way. So sometimes it's a bit of a dance until things get like totally better, or maybe they can't just be totally better. I don't know. But another thing coming through right now while we're on this is sometimes we just dance with the universe a little bit through our circumstances, and you kind of just have to pay attention and be led through your circumstances, and then you get spit out the other side better than ever, if that in a positive way. So the next thing they'd like to get to here, we're on this topic again, but some of you are afraid like certain relationships are going to crumble. They're just not going to, is something I'm hearing. Like if you're in a fight with a significant other, this could just be like one of you, and like you're worried it's all gonna like fall apart or crumble. Probably not going to, of course, unless it's like really meant to. But I, for some reason, was getting like if you're afraid of certain relationships crumbling, they're probably not going to. And again, if something does crumble, you're just gonna get a better replacement, anyways. Next, they showed me a chipmunk, which showed up in the collective randomly as well. But the message here was small but mighty, is what they said. They said, you are growing beyond what you used to be. And this especially was strong in like work or business, but in your like standing of the world, etc. You are not going to be small forever. So this could be literally you moving up from, for some of you, moving up from an entry-level position at work, or like growing your social media accounts, if that's something you're trying to do, or growing your business. And then this example was about climbing like a mountain metaphorically, but in a good way. So like you're going higher. For some of you, maybe you're going straight to the top in some way, which would be cool, or you're just getting to the next level. So it's kind of just a message about you expand beyond where you used to be and breaking free of the, you know how some creatures, they grow up in an egg. They are incubated in the egg, and then when they're ready, they break free of the egg and they continue to expand as beings or creatures. And that's you, but metaphorically is what I'd say. It's like you're breaking free of the egg of your world or something like that. Some of you didn't even realize you were metaphorically in an egg. You thought you were the full-grown creature, but you were just fully grown in the egg and there's another level or something like that. So, of course, that's a metaphor, so don't take that too literally. Just know you're expanding and going beyond where you're at. And some of you thought you've gone far, and maybe you have, but there's further to go, is something I'm getting as well, as far as like you're standing in the world, yada, yada. Next, I really like this message. They gave me the phrase Hall of Fame. They said some of you are getting an esteemed position in some regard, whether it's in a company and you're being recognized, or it's like a manager or a boss that like is recognizing you in their eyes, or it's, again, it could be on social media or in like a circle that you run with somewhere, but they just said, congrats, you earned it. So maybe some of you are doing something legendary. Maybe some of you are building something really big. It doesn't have to be right away, by the way. This could be over time. But some of you might feel like you're inducted into the Hall of Fame in someone's eyes in some way, or a group of people's eyes, which is really interesting. And, you know, that might not literally happen or resonate for all of you. But I do feel like in some way you're going to get recognized. And if this message doesn't feel right to you in some way, as far as like your particular circumstances, or just intuitively doesn't feel right, this could be the future, by the way. So don't limit it, is what I'd say. For the rest of you, though, let me see what else would be flashy to come through for you regarding all this here. Some of you feel like your world's just going to be small and you're just going to keep living a small life. If you don't want that to be the case, I don't feel like that's always going to be the case, as in like you're not, what I'm trying to say is if you don't want to be stuck in like a quote unquote small life, which I don't even think small lives necessarily even have to be small in the first place. I think that can be, anyways, let me get to what they'd like to say here. It's not going to be stuck that way, is pretty much what I'm trying to get out of my mouth here for you guys. If you want it to be small, I mean, of course you always, I mean, usually you have a choice. So, and again, small doesn't even have to be small. Like sometimes quiet, simple life with not a lot of friends is still in an as above, so below way, like affecting everything. It doesn't mean it's like lesser than, you know, someone else's life or something like that. But it really depends on what you truly desire, what your heart and soul desire. You get me. Hopefully. Next here, anything else with this message? I feel like there's more with the Hall of Fame message. We didn't quite get everything here. You know, some of you think you're average, but you're really not. Like, I'd really try to get over thinking of yourself as average. And if, you know, some of you think you're average and you're not. If you actually were, you could always build your skills to be extraordinary anyways. You know, like there, you know, anything's possible. And beyond all that, you're not in the first place, is what I'd say. So some of you have some really like extraordinary potential, and if you want to live up to it, you absolutely can, is what I'm trying to get out of this my mouth here. But don't think of yourself as average or just like everyone else, because none of you here really are at all. And, maybe what's the best way to say this? Maybe what you think of as extraordinary, you being extraordinary, is not going to look like everyone else's. But it doesn't mean it's going to be smaller or worse than or less than or anything like that. It could just be equal but in a different way or something like that. Or it could just show up differently. So, and again, that doesn't mean like smaller or worse than. Hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say. I'm going to probably move on here unless they have anything else to say here. I don't know. The long and short of it, or what they're trying to get me to say here, is like, don't consider yourself as average, because you're not. Like, there's way more to you, and you're not average. You're not an average person. You're not average people. Next, so they showed me a helicopter again here. This is a different message though, because it's like you being flown to a new destination, and they kind of showed it to me in terms of like a video game. Like, if you think of like Super Mario, might be a good example. It's like you have one like world that you start on, and it's like I don't know, like there's mushrooms and it's grassland and all that. And then like you beat the boss of that area, and then you're kind of transported to the next world or area. And it's like that theme is like volcanoes and magma, or like the rainforest or something like that. So it's kind of like you are, graduating from an area and moving to a different one that is better suited for your skills, so you can level up more or go further. It's like you're metaphorically moving territories to a new level to conquer either new challenges and grow up more. It could even be with ease. Or you're just going further than you have before, or you have an opportunity to go further. Maybe it doesn't have to be challenging. Because what they said here is like, it doesn't even have to be difficult. It could even be like easier than the last thing you were going through, but like you're still growing. So we don't need to limit it or put all this stuff on it, or anything like that. But seems like you're graduating in some way, or leveling up, or going to a new world, so which is good. And again, it's going to allow you to expand more and do better. But if you keep thinking of the video game analogies, it's like sometimes one level is like, or world is really difficult because of where your character is at with like the skill set it has or the experience. But it's like the amount you level up on this world, it could make the next few levels like way easier, because it's like maybe you're over leveled for the next few worlds, or maybe it's just for whatever reason you have a new tool and it makes all this easier, even if it's supposed to be more difficult. So you don't have to judge it as being more difficult, is what I'm trying to say. Next here, they showed me a slingshot. They just said, speaking of tools, even simple tools can be effective. So I'll ask them to explain it more once I finish reading this to you. But they said, try not to judge what the universe is handing you, because it might look like nothing, but it actually could be everything. So for example, maybe you learn a really simple tool from a spiritual teacher, and it seems really silly or simple, but it literally changes everything for the better and like bridges you to your new world, etc. So they also kind of were talking about this example, like if you think of certain TV shows or maybe like anime or something, where the main character has just like one move that's overpowered, or like one like overpowered sword, and it's really simple, but it like just has them like blast through all their obstacles with ease or something like that. Like it's almost like kind of a trope or a joke, but it works for them. But it's like, even though it seems simple, it's really effective. So you might have someone telling you something, like maybe you go to a class, whether maybe it's for energy healing or just how to deal with this in your life or something, and you show up for the class and the instructor's like, just do this. You're like, that is a joke. That is so simple. But then you try it and it works, and you can apply it everywhere, and your world gets better. You're like, oh, it's almost like silly, how simple it is. But maybe there's things like that are going on for you, and you'll probably know what it is in your world. If this is resonating for you, because it's going to be like a really simple like tool or something that you think is just like nothing, but it changes everything. So I don't know what that's about for each of you, but I don't know. Keep an open mind, I guess, to what the universe is bringing your way. Like if you're asking for help and then the universe gives you like a mantra, you're like, a mantra, but then as you use it, everything gets better. So just keep it in mind. So that was kind of it for that one. I guess there's one more message here. So they're showing me a marshmallow here. It's really interesting because this marshmallow almost looks like a cartoon character, or like a online internet comic character of some sort. And he looks really like cute and unassuming. but then like as like the intuitive visual zooms in on him, this marshmallow is actually really like buff and aggressive, and it like smashes everything in its way. I weirdly feel like that's you guys for some reason. I feel like that's you for some reason. So let me sit with this for a second here. You know, I feel like that could be you, as in like maybe you look kind and like are cute or like unassuming, but it's like if someone starts to mess with you, like you bust out the big guns. So really, like one of the messages, like just don't let people walk all over you. Again, like there's the fire signs had this reminder, but it's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to say no, excuse me. You know, it's okay not to be a pushover. I know sometimes people are trained into people pleasing, and you think the right thing to do is like please everybody and let them push you around so you don't rock the boat because your parents always yelled at you whenever you stood up for yourself or something like that. I don't know. But that's not really how it works in the real world, as you can imagine. And I feel like the more you're with, you know, in a healthy way, standing up for yourself and holding your healthy boundaries, the better. Weird visual and message, but don't be a pushover. Be a cute marshmallow that can take care of business and metaphorically beat people up as a boundary if you need it. But don't go around actually beating people up, please. You understand what I'm saying. Weird, very strange message, but anything else before we part ways here? Again, just remember you're being rescued from certain difficult situations with that para-rescue kind of message. And that's kind of it. The last thing they're ending up with, they end out some of these readings like this for some reason, is like a lollipop. They did this last week too, I think, but it's like a mystery flavor. And I feel like it's the same message as last week, but I think it was for a different group where it's like you're getting these like mysterious rewards, or you might be getting like rewards, but they're kind of like unknown, or they seem like really random. So you might just have some like random good things happening. They're like, oh, where'd that come from? That's weird. But that seems like a good thing. So I hope that was helpful, resonated, did whatever was for your highest good. And we're going to move on to the next phase. And we'll move to the air signs next in just a second. I'm going to hang out for a second as well. Hey, Marina, good to see you. I also want to give a shout out to any of the moderators who are helping out. I think I am, so Marina is a moderator and she'll help out sometimes. If anyone else is here that I haven't seen in the comments, just wanted to say thank you for helping out, or thank you for all the past times you've helped out. Always really helps me focus on this and not have to worry as much about what's happening in chat, just to make the experience better for everybody. So, what if villain era style energy is feeling the best lately? How to proceed? I would roll with it. Just don't be wicked with it, if that makes sense. I've heard different people say different things about, actually, there's only like one person I've really heard talk about villain era stuff, who's like a reader, I think. And I think as far as like a description that I'll get for you, let's see if they want to bring one through, because I don't want to just copy and paste what anyone else is saying unless I'm guided to. And I don't feel like I am. So what's the message here? I mean, this is going to sound obvious, but, do it with healthy boundaries. Do it in a way that feels good to you and like aligned with true highest and infinite source, with your spirit team, and that will probably be the best. But if you're feeling called to it and it feels light to you, there's probably a reason. I think sometimes we're kind of, not that this was you, but sometimes we're sold an idea that goody two shoes is like the only thing that's like good, so to speak. But that's not always the case. Like for some reason, what the example I'm getting is if you think of like movies or show where like The Rock is like the main character, it's like usually he's getting stuff done, but he's not being a goody two shoes about it. But he is also like the protagonist of the movie, so he's not afraid to bloody a few noses or I didn't like how that felt energetically. Okay, cancel. But he's not afraid to do what needs to be done, even if it's not like the nice thing to do. So And I feel like you'll be, maybe asked to be guided through it in some way, a source to lead you through it, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it per se. It's just different segments of our story, if you will, call for different things or different energies to step into. My understanding, something I heard someone else talk about with Bill and Era is it's just like you having boundaries. When people are used to just being able to, take or walk all over you or something like that. So I don't even think it's a bad thing. But if you have a different understanding, of course, and maybe someone else in chat has good advice for you. Oh, thank you. Thank you to Kara, trying to get everyone to like the live and get to 50K before air. We may or may not get there, but you guys do have a way of rocketing the numbers when you want to, so I won't doubt you guys. What fun is it without a little chaos? I think it probably depends on the individual. But thanks, Kara. I really appreciate it. I think Goody is boring. That's fair. I'm rolling with it. I think of it like Dark Queen of Wands. That's fair. Oops, excuse me. I don't know if you heard that, but I definitely just farted. They didn't, I guess they're like, don't tell them. I'm like, sorry, I already told them. No, exactly, Jane. Thank you, Marina. Jane says, people don't always like boundaries, but you're number one. Exactly. And there's like a ton of good quotes. I think they're good quotes on it, where it's like, the only people who are mad that you have boundaries are people who benefited from you not having any. And the other thing is, like, they'd probably have to also, to some degree, like, well, I don't know. It could be more complex than this. It could be a bit more nuanced, but on some of their level, they're also not like caring about you as a person if they dislike you having healthy boundaries for yourself. But there's also a bit more nuance where maybe there's a part of them that's like, oh, I don't like that I'm not getting this from this person anymore, but they also care, and they kind of have to sit with it and kind of either heal that part or just realize like, okay, I care about this person, so I see this reaction coming up in me, but we're going to work through this. We're going to sit with this and see what I need to do here for myself with respect to myself and the other person. So, I think I would just say healthy boundaries is the way to go, of course. Oh, did Green Eyes say something about a release? If I don't blame the cat. I would, but I locked them all outside the door. Actually, I do have a story before we get into the air signs here in just a minute, where I remember one time I was one thing that would happen for me when I would release energies is I would cough. So like if I were getting an energy healing session, like and they're going to be doing some clearing, sometimes I'd let the practitioner know ahead of time, like, hey, just like I'll cough when I'm clearing energies. Is one of the things I'll do, where my body will like kind of randomly like jerk around, I guess, or just react to the energies. So just so you don't like freak out. And then she was talking about how one lady she knew would like burp when the lady was releasing energies. And I think I've encountered that myself, but I think it's also like if I'm channeling and I'm feeling other people releasing, I'll start burping, if that makes sense. Sometimes they'll do it for me. But one thing we joked about was like, I think I said like, oh, at least I don't like, fart or something when I'm releasing. And she's like, well, it's kind of like the ultimate release if you think about it. And I think we were kind of joking, but I knew in that moment, I'm like, I'm going to start farting when I release, aren't I? And so like from that, it's kind of tapered off a bit. But for a while after that, like whenever I'd have a big like realization or something that was like something was like cleared, it was like, I just like toot a little bit. So, or so, like, someone would do something and I'd like toot. I'd be like, oh, okay, what have I done? But I think sometimes you can like ask for something different and like you can transition to it. Sometimes spirit's like too bad. You got to deal with it. So it really depends on where you're at and what needs to happen. But it's a funny story on that one. I thought it was funny, at least. You're cackling. Perfect. Oh, yeah. I think I almost want to say the phrase, like, sometimes you got to be careful of what you agree to, but I don't feel like that's the right phrase to bring in here. It didn't feel totally right to me. You know what I'm saying here. So we're going to start the air signs, sun, moon, or rising here. That's what I'm getting to do. Boop, boop, boop. That's probably a good note to just to start that on. But speaking of air, got channel messages that came through ahead of time, and my spirit guides, angels and source looking through any additional information that's for your eyes good as I read through these. I feel like I need a second to laugh and drink water here. So the first message that came through, or that you'd like me to start with, before I get with the messages that came through ahead of time, they're showing me like, they give me the word marbling, and they're showing me like a marble, like white marble, like stone as well. And this isn't a bad thing, but they're showing something like breaking, like, you know, when like a stone or like glass is like kind of shattering, there's like the cracks that kind of go through the structure of what that is. I feel like you're breaking through something is something I'm getting, like a limitation that was there or an alleged limitation that was there. Some of you are kind of in a positive way breaking through, like, sounds weird, but the limitations of your own minds or your mindset. For some of you, this, again, it's about positivity. For some others of you, it could be about like abundance, like maybe you're getting out of a poverty mentality or something like that. But I feel like there are big mental breakthroughs for the highest good coming for the air signs right now, or you're going through that right now, and it's going to help level you up majorly, like energetically. So congrats on that. Another weird message, I feel like I've been saying this in a number of ways today, but if things are breaking down in your life, I feel like it's actually like a positive thing or a positive sign, because it's almost like you're outgrowing those things is something I'm getting. So even if it's like, I wouldn't wish this on anyone, so only what's for the highest good universe, but if like a car is breaking down, or even if like communication is breaking down in like a certain area, like at a job or with someone, or you just feel like certain things are breaking down, you're like, what is going on? I feel like you're just outgrowing those things, and you'll be shown the next steps soon. It doesn't mean you can't like repair the car or the communication temporarily, like while you're still in that situation or something like that. But I feel like you're going to be called beyond those things in some way. And like if it is a car, like I understand that can appear a little bit rough. I remember one time, like a car that I drove like broke down, and there was like a reading or message I heard somewhere that was something along the lines of like, you know, like you're might be losing something that was like just of a vibration that's not aligned anymore. And so you're being called to let go of that and get the new thing. And, you know, it all ended up working out, of course. Spirit took care of it, at least eventually, after I stopped resisting. But it did lead to better for me because, I mean, one thing with the old car was it just was a gas guzzler. I think it got like 15 miles to the gallon, like tops. And like the new car gets at least like 32. I think it was getting more like 36 plus, which was so much better than like filling up with $20 worth of gas every like, you know, time I drove 20 minutes somewhere, and like absurd. But, so it, you know, and that's better for the environment as well. I'm not using up as much gas, so it all worked out for the better. But, you know, sometimes things are breaking down. The message for you is if that's happening, you're outgrowing things. Next here, one of the first messages, we're changing it up. They're showing me a spider web here. This must be a common thing a certain number of you are going through, because they're showing you getting out of sticky situations, kind of like, you know, a bug gets stuck on a spider's web, it's sticky. Not as bad for you, because that's usually the bug's like doom. You're not doomed. I always feel like doom and gloom is a lie, honestly. I feel like there's always a better way, or I'm always cautious about accepting, and I've never really gotten them for myself, but like a message from someone else that's like doom and gloom about the world as truth, or even about like a situation. You know, sometimes, like in a personal circumstance, I'll get a message like, yeah, that's not the direction to go, or yeah, that's not the right person to date, or whatever. And that's different. That's just an accurate bit of information on like a direction not to go in, or it's just a bit of accurate information on like, hey, this might not pan out. But it doesn't mean that's like the end of the world or anything. You know, it just means that's not the right thing. And that can happen sometimes. But beyond all of that, that doesn't mean like your world's going to be destroyed or the world's going to be destroyed or anything like that. All I'm trying to say here though is I feel like you're getting out of certain sticky situations, or you have, and it's kind of on to better, so that's good. I don't feel like you belong in sticky situations for long periods of time right now. Like, you deserve to be free. You deserve to have a bit more freedom. You deserve to be free from those challenges. Like, those aren't meant to be forever, so time to get away from that is something I'm getting. And maybe it's just a new energy we're in or heading into, because it seems like everyone's getting like, it seems like people are getting somewhat similar messages about that today, you know, about like getting out of different challenges, but it just seems like it's appearing a little bit differently for each of these readings. Or maybe it's vastly different and I'm just in the middle of channeling the messages and you guys are seeing it a bit differently. So that's fine too. Next here, I feel like I missed what they were trying to bring through. So let me come back to this for just a second here. Again, if you felt like trapped for a long time, you're going to be free. Next, they show me this message about, okay, they're showing me like the Easter money right now. They're also giving me the word congratulations, which is weird. But there was a message about you guys rebirthing majorly and like coming out stronger than ever. So I feel like you're either in the middle of a rebirth phase where you're coming out of one, or maybe you're just entering into one. You might be in different phases of this happening, but there's just a big rebirth for the air signs right now, those of you tuning in. And I feel like you're going to be feeling that, but it's leading to a really good place. So again, it's like this exiting the old world kind of a message. And some of you are actually flying higher than ever before. I feel like you're going to go higher still, so without any kind of like dip or anything, so that'll be good as well. Anything else with the Easter message here though? I also feel like you guys are going to be birthing things in your world. I think I said this to you last week too in the live, but I feel like there's just going to be a lot more that's going to be positively birthing for you right now. So the next message, they just gave a message that you have grown, you are a higher you. There's also a reminder not to beat up on yourself right now. So some of you have gone like further than you realize. And I feel like you're doing a great job in some ways, at least regarding personal growth. If you don't feel like that's you or that's not you, I feel like this isn't going to be bad necessarily, but you're going to be called to more personal growth soon, or you might just naturally find yourself being drawn to those things that are going to lead to you, growing a bit more or becoming a higher you. And again, this doesn't have to be a negative or bad thing. You might just be drawn to a book that really changes your world and reality for the greater. Or you might be drawn to a class and it starts to change your mind about things. You start growing really rapidly. And it can be with ease. So that's just, sometimes these things are just naturally evolving and happening. Or it could just very naturally, start to organically happen. Next, they show me a pig. And the message for you guys is like abundance will come. So they also showed like a flying pig and said miracles will come. It was interesting because for the earth signs, like they really gave me these like long, like channeled like paragraphs. For the air signs, it was very like brief. It was like a line. It was like rebirthing, coming out stronger than ever. Pig, abundance will come. Flying pig, miracles will come. So it sounds like on some level, like maybe there's some things to work through and things like that, but abundance and miracles are on the way. And it could even be like sporadic. It could be spread out through like your journey ahead of time as well. So, some of you just have more abundance coming. And if you've been praying for miracles, I feel like those are coming in as well. So I would be inviting in miracles and stuff like that, doing mantras for that, whatever you feel called to do. I feel like that'll be helpful. Next with it's funny for the air signs, but they showed me air. They just said like there is a lot going to be like materializing for you out of thin air. So I'll explain this. You might think nothing's going to happen for you, but like everything happens. It was really interesting because the visual I kept seeing as this one channeled through was like this like foggy, it just looked like a white foggy expanse. And you were kind of it's almost like you were standing on this like stone over a pool. But it was almost like anything and it's a positive thing, it's not bad, but anything could like spring from this fog and just like materialize. It was like almost like this expansive creation, if that makes sense. So the visual was like you in this fog, and like you were expecting like nothingness, like just air, but it was like all of a sudden there was like, here's all this food, here's this like, could, you know, just an example, but here's this new job, here's this thing, here's like this new house, like here's all this stuff, like, you know, it's like all this stuff just materializing for you. So I feel like you're either going to get a big manifestation, or either a lot is going to be manifesting, or maybe the universe is just throwing you a bone, just throwing you some good things with this. But you might be expecting like nothing happening, but then like, again, like everything happens, like everything turns over. Like they're also showing me like turnover and like a company. So like turnover, of course, is for most of you are probably familiar, but that's like the rate in which employees quit and you have to hire new ones. So high turnover companies would be ones that have a lot of new employees that come in, they leave quickly, and there's just a high rate of people who like just cycle through the company, if that makes sense. So you might be having that happen for you, but in your life where like just random things are just like turning over. It's like, again, we had the example of the car, like new car, like new boss at work, like new friends, like new coworkers, like just certain things might unexpectedly like materialize for you. And sometimes certain things might be leaving, but that wasn't really the message I was getting ahead of time as strongly. I guess they added it in with the turnover. It was more about just things showing up. So if you feel like you've been, not all of you probably felt like literally you've been in an expanse of nothingness. I'd be slightly worried if you did physically, but maybe like energetically or on some level you're like, man, I'm just like in this desert. I'm in this expanse of nothingness, but it's like all this stuff is about to come in. So hang in there. You know, everyone's kind of been getting this message today. They're showing this tow truck, and they're showing you getting like towed out of things that are bad for you, but maybe you don't want to leave them. So if you're being like forced to leave anything, it's for your good, is what I'd say as well. Next, they just said, you are going to become a new you very soon. We already talked about this. Like you're already becoming a new you, you're rebirthing and things like that. So for some of you, this is really about to birth, where you just kind of step into a new version of you or start to blossom into a new version of you, which I feel like is really good. I feel like everyone's growing really quickly. I'll read this next message because this kind of also talked about that. But they showed me a juice box and they said, it's time to grow up more. I'm not calling you like regressed or anything. Bear with me here. It's time to grow up more and really embody a higher version of you, big time. So again, doesn't mean like you're behind. Doesn't mean you haven't grown up. I'm not calling you a kid or anything like that. It's just like, it's just time for the universe to maybe just to be like matured more. You know, it could even be like a fine wine. It's like maybe the wine's already mature, but it could still use another year in the cellar or something like that to really push it over the top in a good way or something like that. Or like an aged steak or something. I know some of you are vegan, so bear with me. I don't know if I have aged vegan examples that are good, because you don't usually want to like age the broccoli and I'm joking, but you understand. Wine worked, right? They make vegan wines, but fun fact, not all wine are vegan, because they will sometimes like filter the wine through like animal intestines. So if you're vegan, you actually kind of have to watch out for that. Anyways, coming back, I'm so sorry, guys. There were a lot of messages, it seemed like, scattered throughout the readings. I don't feel like I said it explicitly until now, where it was kind of like being grown up more, or being brought to a higher version of you, or being grown, maybe being grown by the universe, but they don't seem to like that phrasing when I go to say it that way. So I guess you're just stepping into a higher version of you. And being called to walk away from some of the things that are from a lower version of you. You know, sometimes we have a project. This is a pretty wild example, but maybe you had a project that you worked on for like 10 years, but it kind of like birthed when you were like 19, and you've been working on this like book or something since you were 19, but then all of a sudden you're called to walk away from it because you've grown too much and you need to like step into something new. One thing I've heard that I've liked from Lee Harris, channeler, again, is one thing he said is like, if you ever feel called to like, you know, intuitively or whatever, like you get the message, like you need to walk away from this thing, even if you've worked on it for like years. It's like, usually the universe will like bank things for you. So maybe you spend 2 years, you know, an example I could use, they don't like that example, I'm sorry. But maybe you work on like a book for like 2 years, and the universe is like, nope, you're not doing that book. we need to move on. And the universe gives you like a book, like a new book or like a movie or like something else to work on. And you're like, I can't walk away from this. I've been working on this for so many years. It's like, all that was like wrapped up into that book. Like the universe is going to bank that, pay it forward to you in some way, whether it's in the new project or in some other way, so it's not like it's a lost cause or you're losing out, even if it seems like it physically. Like that will show up for you again in some way, if that makes sense. I'm going to try not to over-explain that, but maybe you can use a lot from your old book in your new book, but you have to revamp it a little bit, or maybe you just get this new thing that's just better, in every way, and you're like, okay, this is just like even better than this old thing. I can let go of it. I don't know, something like that. But as far as what else they'd like me to say here, while we're still on the topic here, what they're kind of saying next is like, just know that you're being grown and you're going to get new things in your world as a result of it, which is really good here. They're showing me a cricket next, which is usually about good luck, but it's something about time is in here as well for some reason. I'm hearing a weird message, and there's a lot of different things I could say about this, but there's this message that divine timing is good luck, or could be found like in good luck. So if you feel like your world is like going slower than everyone else's, or you feel like behind in life, like all these people are hitting these milestones and you're like, maybe you still feel like you're in an entry-level job or something, and like your best friend is making like 80K and moving to Bali and getting married and I don't know, all this stuff. I don't feel like you actually are behind. You might just have a different maturation phase or like timeline. It's like you wouldn't like cook a steak for the same amount of time as you'd cook. What's a good example? I don't cook enough for this, guys. Help me out here. I don't know. Maybe you you don't cook a steak is the same time for the same time frame you'd cook like some other type of food that might need like longer in the oven, like a slow roast or something you put in the crock pot. And it's like if you just cooked everything the same speed, like the steak would be undercooked or like overcooked if you try to do it at the same rate. So I feel like in some ways for you guys, it's like divine timing of things happening, like really is like good luck, and it's going to work out better for you in the long run. If you're just going at your own pace and like trusting the universe instead of trying to rush to keep up with someone else or force things to happen because they're on this timeline with things and you're over here. Because one, you might have things this person doesn't have, or it's not always the case, and I don't want to put this on people who have good things either in their life, but maybe it looks like your best friend is like happy and getting married and moving to Bali, but maybe it's like there's some sort of like thing that she wouldn't like in that. Maybe it feels emptier to her. Maybe she has some other challenge that you're not aware of that you would never want to go through in a million years. So keep that in mind. It's like we're all on our own. I'm hesitant because of the semantics of what I'm about to say, but we're all on our own like timelines for things. So your divine time is going to be the luckiest for you. Try not to compare too much is what I'd say. But the other thing is, if you are waiting for divine timing, I feel like you can get very lucky with the things that come in, if that makes sense. And that's kind of more exactly what they wanted to say. And another thing I'd balance it out with, they don't really want me to get into it because I don't think they want me to waste time on this, but I would also talk about good luck in different ways, like good luck as an energy, but I feel like they're saying I need to move on, so we're going to move on. Next thing they showed me here is a dragon, and the words I got were mystical rise. This is a very cool message. They just said you are rising to a higher mystical level and going way more spiritual. But it, like in some ways, the phrase they gave me, which I hesitate to say, but it's what they said, is like, but it solves all your problems, or like starts to solve all your problems. So sometimes just going higher is the answer, like spiritually or evolving more. And it kind of like grows you out of your problems or solves a lot of what's going on right now. And maybe not. Maybe you got different challenges that you have to deal with as you go higher up later on that are just a little bit different, but maybe not. Maybe things are just better. I don't want to limit it. But the message is like you're going to start to unlock the higher levels of yourself very quickly. And by higher levels of yourself, the way they explained it was like channeling, manifestation, creating on earth, like creating your life, channeling your highest self, things like that, where it's just like unlocking those things more. And like unlocking, changing things in your world more the way you would like as a result, or and just helps to up level things for you. So this mystical rise is kind of you like up leveling spiritually, or like unlocking things spiritually, or just going to a higher level within yourself. And as a result, it solves a lot of things for you here. So we're going back to the spider web again. They're talking about the interconnectedness of all things this time with the spider web. Like a lot of you are going to start to see, one second here. Like how things are more interconnected, I suppose you could say, in your world, either like through signs or synchronicities, or through the way you're seeing things. And you're going to know what to do in your world more, perhaps because you'll be seeing how things are connected. Very interesting. But even if it doesn't like cognitively make sense and you're seeing it intuitively, I would trust it anyways, because eventually that's going to make more sense than like your cognitive mind, if that makes sense. Or you can let go of trying to constrict things to the cognitive mind, kind of let things be what they are, and intuit it as you get the information. And that's going to take you further than trying to mentally understand everything like right now, if that kind of makes sense, or constrict it to like fitting inside the mental understanding. I don't know how to describe this, but hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to let you understand it, as the universe will have you understand it, and trust that it'll lead you in the right directions. And that's my, hopefully that is what is happening. Because I would always, as far as like any directions I'm leading anyone in, I'd always just like to lead people in the highest and best directions for them, for the highest good of them and all. So yeah, all that here. So I'm going to close the reading there. The last thing they're showing me is like a jade dragon. I know sometimes they have like statues of jade dragons, but it almost looks like a bracelet. It's like a dragon bracelet that's jade, and it like wraps around the arm, and like the dragon like clasps onto its tail in some way. I don't know if that's an actual thing or not, but I'm seeing it in my intuitive visuals right now here. And the message for you guys is a good luck expansion. So I guess we're circling back to that here. So to go back to the good luck message, like there's just going to be more good luck for you. I feel like it's, again, we're hitting this in a different way, but especially to like slow down into like the rhythm of your life and the pace like spirit wants you to move in, like you're going to have a lot of good luck. So do your best to follow your intuition with all that and go with the flow of, what the universe is showing you and bringing you to, etc. And again, I don't know why I need to remind you of this again. Don't judge yourself based on the paths of others, where other people are at, what other people have. It's like, it's not what you think, and it's probably not the same as what you want. And even if it is, you'll have the right thing for you at the right time when it makes sense. And probably when, not that you would, because not all of you would, but especially when you're not going to like tank it, or you know, you're probably not going to get something when you can't hold it, and then you lose it all, and then you're like, shaking your fist at the universe or things like that. So you understand what I'm saying. I'm going to close the reading now. Hope that was helpful, resonated, did whatever was for you guys good. I feel like you guys as well, they're showing me the lollipop again. They're saying you guys are going to get rewards soon, like karmic rewards, or it's like a good omen. You're seeing a lot of good omens, or will be soon, whatever those are for you. So, I feel like there are a lot of positive things on the way, so just bear with it is what I'd say. So, hope that helped and resonated, and I feel like I went on so many rants, but hope they helped. You are welcome, sober girl. You feel the higher levels resonated? Perfect. You're welcome. Brandon, I've been missing your lives. Oh no, what time are you on Sundays? So I switched it to 3 p.m. North American Central Time, Angela, which might be why you've been missing it. I'm still going to be reposting them to the best of my ability. I just, I'm switching over my internet, so we'll see when I can get everything posted and all that. But I'm starting at 3 p.m. North American Central Time now. Thanks, White Butterfly. You're welcome. Definitely resonated. Perfect. This resonated. Perfect. Thanks for letting me know, Esperanza. I have been on 2 hours so far. I need to upgrade my internet. Do it. Excuse me. Why? Okay. I know it's not usually good to do this live, but who makes up these rules? Who knows what's. I might go to the bathroom in just a second here, and then we'll go to the water signs, and then we'll see how, we'll probably do a full Tano message and go from there. But, you made 50K before you started. Hey, good work, guys. You guys always surprise me with that, how well you do that. So thank you, guys. First of all, I see it's at 64. So thank you for all the likes. I also wanted to say just thank you for anyone like Sarah. Thank you for the roses. Thank you for anyone who's doing the gifts and sending the gifts. I really appreciate it a lot. I love you too, Catherine. Thank you. Love you guys too. Oh, thank you, Kara. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. This is such a great community, and you guys are the ones that make that up. So I want to say thank you to you for all the awesomeness that you bring to the table whenever you're here. It's just inherent to you. Oh, thanks for the guitar or the ukulele guitar from Unbreakable Spirit. Thank you so much. How do I know if I am water or air? Or so I would I'd take a second. You can go to Google, and you might, if you just look up kind of an astrology, like what's my sun, moon, or rising kind of deal, or maybe someone here in the chat could help you out. You'll be able to know, like, it should show you like what elements the different signs are. So if you're Virgo sun, you started this, Brandon. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And you are welcome. Yeah, Virgo is Earth. Okay, I need to use the restroom, and they are going to keep telling me to go to the bathroom if I don't. So I'm going to be right back. I wish I had an intermission card here to place in front. But if anyone in chat just wants to let anyone know if they ask a question, you guys probably already handle that automatically, so I don't even need to ask. But I'll be right back. I'll see you guys in just like a minute or two here. All right, I'm back. Thanks, Marina, for pinning that comment. Oh, that's handy. I didn't realize you could pin comments like that. Cool. All I do is win, 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 no matter what. I love that. Okay, they're telling me I need to start the water signs ASAP, so I think I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna drink some water. No pun intended. Thanks, Marina, for that. I really appreciate it. Okay, So if you have a water sign, sun, moon, or rising, it's for you when you see it, whether you're live or on YouTube. Got channel messages that came through ahead of time, and my spirit guides, the angels, and source will bring through any additional information that's for you as good as I roll through these. So they want me to start with Kraken. They showed me a Kraken with with this reading, and the message that came through ahead of time. There's going to be multiple that we get into here. Again, like this seems to be a common message today for certain ones of you, but if you feel like things are being destroyed, like a Kraken usually shows up, destroys ships and all that in like movies and stuff, I feel like you're actually going to be okay. It's like, it's actually in your favor. It might not seem like it, but it is. So it could be like a blessing in disguise kind of thing. But it's actually either moving you forward or like helping you in some way. And maybe you don't see that. For others of you here, maybe you're bringing destruction in a positive way, but it's actually really helping people. An example that's showing up for me, let me see what they'd like to say here. Maybe it's like you keep showing up to try and help people and like give them advice about their relationships, but you keep like breaking people up. Not all relationships are meant to last, Not everything is meant to last forever. It's like you kind of come together, you each get what you need, and then you part ways when it's no longer compatible for the trajectory you each are on, to borrow from someone else, I guess, the way to say that. So I feel like you're actually doing people a favor, though, if you're like bringing that positive destruction or creative destruction. Because again, not everything is meant to last. And like if everything lasted forever, the earth would just be like full, all the old like medieval governments would still be around, and all this weird stuff would still be. It's just like certain things do need to go. So it's okay to bring this positive destruction sometimes. And I'm not saying to go around and try and break everyone up or anything like that. It's more just like if you find it's happening, I don't actually feel like you're doing damage. I feel like you're maybe some of you are learning and learning not to do something like that. But I honestly feel like most of you are fine regarding all that here. The other thing with Kraken that came through ahead of time is like, this one was kind of interesting. They just said, sometimes you defeat monsters, metaphorically, you didn't even realize you were fighting. So for instance, like people were fighting you in some way, but you were like winning effortlessly and didn't even realize it. I hesitate to say this, but maybe it was like energetically or something, you're winning for the highest good, or maybe you're like about to overcome challenges you didn't even like realize you were dealing with in some way, like, some like energetic challenge or something like that. Very interesting. But some of you have been like, there's like a challenge that's come against you in some way, and you've been winning, and like maybe you just didn't even realize you were going through this thing. Very strange, but I don't know what that's about. But I like it because it seems like you are defeating monsters, you are winning effortlessly, and you don't realize it. And maybe like you get through it, and you're like, oh, I guess I did defeat that thing or get through that thing, and oh, why am I doing better all of a sudden? It's like I don't know. And I'm not a doctor, but maybe for some of you, this is like a health issue of some sort. And you just got through it without even realizing it. So it could be different for each of you showing up here. So, or maybe it's similar for each of you, but you know what I'm saying. Next, they showed me a pirate. Pirates love to show up for the water signs sometime. But I feel like this is really positive because actually, Lainey, it's really funny that you mentioned that, in the comments you were saying like all I do is win win win, because right here it said is like you're winning the world, and it's like in some ways like you might be hitting the highest levels in some area, or like you're going to start doing that, but it just seems like you're winning in some way. It reminded me of video games. Like they quoted the video game Sea of Thieves, which I've never played, but I've seen like videos show up here and there on social media of people playing that game or whatever. And the premise of that game, for anyone unfamiliar, is like I think you're like a pirate, and so you go around like with a pirate ship, and I don't know. I'm not a big proponent of stealing things, but in this game you would like steal ships and like steal loot or go get loot or things like that. But I don't even know if this is how that game works, but they were showing in this example like these characters like hitting really high levels or like hitting like the end game, of the video game and being in the more advanced stage. So I do feel like you guys are either leveling up in big ways, or in some area of life, like you might be hitting the highest levels in some ways, whether that's spiritually or, a skill, or like, well, I never want to limit your skills. Like maybe you can just keep going higher, but hopefully this makes sense. In some way, I feel like you're going to be like winning, which is good, or you're going to start winning more. Especially like it'd be really cool if you felt like you were winning like all of your life. I'm kind of getting some of that, at least for some of you. Or like maybe you just feel like you're winning in like every area or more areas, or you actually are, you know. And for some of you who don't feel like that's true, I just feel like you're going to start winning more. So take that as it resonates, you know, those different angles on that message. I don't think angles is the right word, but you know what I'm saying. I'm kind of reading for different ones of you, so I just do my best to bring through the messages each one of you needs to hear, I suppose. But really, I'm just guided through it. So next here, they showed me fire. They showed the like the fire walk. I've mentioned this a few times. Like they showed me this in the readings. Like Tony Robbins, who's like a self-help dude, you probably are familiar, but he used to have these events where he'd have people at the end do like a fire walk where they walk through like the burning coals. And like the whole thing is like, it's supposed to be something you can handle pretty easily. It's just intimidating to do it. So it's not like anyone actually gets injured or anything like that, or it's not like it's actually dangerous to my understanding. But the message for you guys is like, sometimes life does have like challenges, but if you overcome them, you get really great rewards. This reminds me of Saturn actually. So I mean, maybe some of you are in your Saturn return, but I'm not even saying that's the energy you're dealing with. But you know how like one of the understandings of Saturn and astrology is like, yeah, maybe there's some challenges or some, I don't know if tough love is the right word, or some lessons, but if you're willing to work with the energy, you get like rewarded really well in some capacity. So, you know, for some of you, it could be like there are challenges coming up in the way of like something you'd really like to do, or like a target you have in life, or a dream, or just challenges in general that you're dealing with, you know, different than the ones we talked about with the Kraken. And like the message is like, do your best to like face them and like work through them, because like one, some of the challenges are like, they're illusory. Like it looks like they're there, but the second you step towards it, it's an illusion, it crumbles, there's nothing in your way. For others, and like just in other ways, like some of the other challenges, like two, like we already said, there are great rewards on the other side, whether those challenges were illusory or they're there. Like you'll have great rewards as you get to the other side of them. Three, like the other question is like, what else are you going to do with your time right now? You know, we can always just sit around and do nothing, but I think maybe you'd get bored if that was the case. Or, you know, sometimes we do need that. This is not what I'm talking about, but it just reminded me of times where like I actually did just need to sit around and like do nothing. And like I got really sick, so I would do it. But at the same time, it was really nice because like I did just need to lay in bed for like a week, and like I felt way better afterwards. But that's not going to be a lot of you at all, if any of you. But the other thing, like you might as well just face the challenges. The other thing is like, you know, you deserve great things, and just a reminder to do your best with all of it. But I would just face the challenges you are facing and you will rise. Pretty simple actually, but there are really great rewards for like facing challenges, moving through them, etc. Next, a positive message here, they show me a bull. If you know like bull run in like the stock market phrase, it's usually when the prices go on an upward trajectory. And there can be a bit more nuance to the game, if you will, I suppose. But this is positive for you because it just means things are going to turn so that you are on an upward trajectory and going higher with ease, rather than facing difficulty after difficulty, not getting anywhere. So not all of you are facing difficulty after difficulty. Maybe some of you are, but if you feel like you have, I feel like you're going to start climbing above that. It's weird because they're showing it to me like ocean waves. And this isn't going to be something that, I mean, it would probably make more sense if I could just draw it for you. But maybe like if you are in a certain level here and you're trying to like climb out of the ocean, and maybe there's a big long like ladder or something that goes onto this ledge up here. And it's like, if you were down here on the ladder, the waves would like keep hitting you and keep hitting you as you're climbing it. But if you got high enough, like the wave would be underneath you, and you could just kind of climb the ladder. You know, if that makes sense, was the visual I was shown, which is not something you'd like probably see in real life that frequently, but it was an explanation for what you're going through, I suppose, or something that could be going on here. So, but overall, the message, things are going to be changing for the highest good, so that you're more on an upward trajectory and going higher, which is good. So things kind of turning around for the better is not the way they had me phrase it, but you understand here. Next thing they show me ahead of time, they are showing me a cliff next, and like a cliff diver, which I think is someone who dives into the water from cliffs, or maybe it's base jumping where you have like the parachute or something. But let's see what's going on with this. Give me 1 second here. I feel like some of you might be facing or will be facing something like you're really afraid to do. But like once you do it, like you're not afraid anymore. Like could be like skydiving. It's like it's terrifying to like, I've never done it, but what I'm getting to say is like maybe it's terrifying to like jump out of the plane. But once you do it and like you kind of get over the initial like like adrenaline thing, it's like you kind of probably can ease into it a bit more and you'd be like, okay, we're doing this. Adrenaline feels great, all that stuff. But that could even just be like starting a business or I don't know, I'm hearing a weird example, like having a kid or something like that. Like maybe, not that all of you will be doing that, but maybe it really terrifies you, but then once you do it, you're like, oh, this is fine. So a lot of different examples that could apply to, but something like that is something I'm getting like happening for you in some way. So the next message here, which kind of went with the, actually I skipped a message, but I'll read it anyways. All is well and will turn around in your favor for the highest good of you and all. So some of you might feel like you're going through a dip in your experience, but it all kind of levels up. And again, like there's that ocean message like on that upward trajectory coming in. Next thing, they showed me grass and a lawnmower. They gave me the word boredom. They said, just do what you have to do right now in general in your life. Like even if you're bored or if you don't want to do things, just like do what you have to do. Pretty simple message. Actually, I think sometimes we just have to do something. It's like mowing the lawn, you know, like we don't want to mow the lawn, but we don't want the HOA on our butts either. I dislike HOAs personally. But I also am not a homeowner, so it just, but the concept of it and all the struggles I see people have with it online, it just seems like a bad idea. But I also kind of understand it, but I also don't like it. So that's my personal stance now, and it's not the overall truth of things necessarily. Anyways, coming back to the reading though, where we're going to be channeling things and stuff. Again, I know it sounds boring, but just do what you have to do right now. The next thing they showed me was like a cloud. So beyond like all the other messages that came through, like this is a really good time to like take time for yourself and like to rest, not to force anything. I think typically you don't want to force things, but you know, if something's not working, don't force it. But this could be like a really good like next couple weeks or time period where it's like, yeah, you can keep working on things, keep pushing, doing what you feel called to do, but balance it with like the right amount of time for yourself and coming to clarity within yourself and resting and things like that in like a balanced way. I feel like this can be very helpful for you instead of like overworking yourself or working yourself to the bone, which I feel like is not necessarily how humanity is intended to work, is kind of something I'm getting. I think it depends on the person, honestly, and the time period you're in. But most people are not meant to just work themselves to the bone and like work themselves to death and run themselves ragged. It's like you're probably supposed to have balance in some way. And I feel like if you look at the animal kingdom, a lot of the animals, depending on the animal, kind of get to a place where they can like rest eventually. It's like the cheetah is like spending a crap ton of time conserving energy and just laying there. And then, you know, it's also scouting for, you know, danger, and it's also taking its moments to like strike and get the antelope or whatever, gazelle or whatever it needs to eat. But it's also taking a ton of time to just kind of like rest. And, maybe you're just in a period of time where you need to rest more for some of you and not work yourself to the bone. Again, depends on who you are, what your life calls for, what your circumstances are. Sometimes we can and sometimes we can't just change everything right away to get out of a mode we're in. But usually there's a step we can take to buffer ourselves from overworking if we have to, hopefully. And if not, maybe it's time to examine your life and see like, do I need to change things so I can get to a period of time where I can take a day off if I need to, or have a day to myself if I need it or something, like depending on who you are and how you're doing, of course. But don't just stay in it if it sucks, is what I'd say for some reason. So there's at least one more message here before we part ways. Quite simply, they're showing someone stabbing something, but let me sit with this and see what's going on here before I just run my mouth. So this is going to sound a little silly the second it comes out of my mouth. Bear with me as they guide me through explaining this one. Sometimes we think something or doing something is a bad thing, but it's actually a good thing. Like it could be our training where we're just, you know, for example, I don't know. The example that comes to me is like, don't skip church on Sunday. It's a bad thing. Don't skip church on Sunday. It's a bad thing. Don't skip church on Sunday. It's a bad thing. But it's like, if you think of like the programming that comes in with like religion and like church and all that, like there are some good ones out there. I am sure. But usually it's kind of negative, or it's not really healthy or like helpful for people. It's kind of like brainwashing to believe in this thing or else. So there's like a certain amount of control. Or so the church can bring in, maybe not so the church can bring in money. I don't know. But maybe in the history it was more, I don't know. You understand what I'm saying. But maybe it could actually be a good thing for you to like skip church and get in touch with God for yourself and get more in tune spiritually and get away from that programming, you know. Or what's another example here? Like maybe we're taught it's bad to... I don't know. Can I get an example, please? I think you kind of get it already, but maybe you're taught it's bad to like learn martial arts and be able to defend yourself, but maybe it's exactly what you need to be doing. This is an example, by the way, don't take it too literally, but maybe it's exactly what you need to be doing so you're prepared for things you encounter in the future, or just feeling more confident when you encounter people who you're not sure are safe to be around or things like that. So I mean, it's not like you're learning it with the intention to go wreak havoc on the world and hammer fist everyone you meet. It's more like just setting yourself up for success. So maybe you taught like violence bad. And again, I'm not a fan of violence typically, but if you need to defend yourself and it's you or them, it's like it's got to be them. You know, I mean, depending on how you take it. If it's like you die or they die, like it's probably got to be they die, you know. Like there's a point living in the physical where sometimes that stuff seems to, hopefully it doesn't come up for any of you or me or anything like that, but you understand what I'm saying. So you might think it's a bad thing to learn how to fight people, but it's like maybe it's good. I don't know. You understand what I'm saying. But as far as why I'm even saying that, you might be doing things that you think are bad that are good, or you're doing things you think you have to do in life and you think it's a bad thing, but it's actually good. I don't know how to describe this, but maybe in your world it will make sense or something like that. Like maybe you think it's bad to like tell someone off, but maybe that person was a serial killer. Maybe you were about to get, you know, maybe something was about to happen. I don't know. So I think it's important not to always, I think it's good to be discerning with our responses and reactions to things, but I think discernment and judgment are two different things. And sometimes it's important not to judge or assume things about our natural responses or our channeled responses about things. So you get it. I don't want to bore you to death on any of that here. Last thing they're showing me is a sword here. It looks like it's from Lord of the Rings. It has like the writing on the sword, like in some sort of language. And there's like Aragorn holding the sword here. So what's this about? This actually is about boundaries though. So let me see what this is about further. I feel like some of you are going to be called to set boundaries that are really uncomfortable. Like it could be with your boss at work and you have to say something. I don't know, maybe it's about your pay, or maybe it's about like a way your boss is treating you, and maybe they don't even realize they're doing it, but you kind of have to be the one to step up for yourself. I feel like if you see yourself as the hero of your story and someone who's learning to take care of yourself, it'll be easier for you to stomach like setting certain boundaries, because it's almost like it's not really about them regarding this thing, if that makes sense. It's about, I think Lainey just said something like this, didn't you, in the comments here? It's like it's about you, or someone said it. I'm sorry if I'm giving credit to the wrong person, but it's about like you. It's about you know, making sure you're taken care of. And then you can take care of other people to a certain extent. And again, it's not about being hostile to people. It's just like sometimes setting those boundaries are really uncomfortable. Or again, it's something we're like taught not to do by our parents. We're like, oh, don't stand up for yourself, slap you, you know, don't talk back to me, you know, things like that. And it's just a programming we need to undo. And it's really uncomfortable when we go against it. But once you realize you can set boundaries and have those conversations, it really empowers you to change things in your life more, instead of being the victim of other people's mindsets or other people's beliefs or people telling us we have to do something, you know, or something like that. So keep that in mind here. Next thing they're showing me is like someone swimming. So what's this about? Some of you have been in like a difficult phase. I feel like you're just about at the end of it. It's like a long, like, do they call them triathlons, where you like run, bike, and swim? It's like this long thing. You've been swimming for a long time. You're just about to get to your destination. In this visual, it looks like an island, and there's like abundance on this island, or some type of treasure or something you've been hunting for. So I feel like you're about to get a reward for a difficult period, but like you just kind of have to keep going right now, I guess, and not give in. So that's it, though. I feel like there's more for you than you realize in life. Anyone tuning in right now, like with the water signs, you might think you're only meant for a certain amount, but you're meant for way more. So the other thing I'll say is don't limit your abundance or the abundance you're meant for. I'd really work on the mindset of like, I can have anything I desire, especially if it's for the highest good, or I can have it all, instead of any type of limited thinking regarding that. Because I think any type of limited thinking about that, I think that would be good to undo the limited thinking and step more into, of course, like as the terms are thrown around, abundance mindset and things like that. So, okay, hope that was helpful. I'm going to end that reading there. Hope it resonated with, you did whatever is for the highest good. Of course. And probably do a full channel mode message in just a second here. Thanks for the follow, Gail Jones. I appreciate it. Good to see ya. Everyone else tuning in here. Hey, Golden Girl. Hey, Lainey. You're welcome, Duchess. Hey, Finding Michelle. Hope you're doing great. Okay, so you're welcome, Jazzy J. I have done the fire signs, but this should be reposted on YouTube sometime in the next couple weeks. My internet is a little bit down right now. Like I'm using my phone, just for this right now. So like the phone internet, the network. So sometimes the bigger videos and files don't download as well. But sometime in the next few weeks, this will be reposted. So it's been a really rough week. So this is really uplifting. So glad to hear it, Moni. So glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it. How many times can I say glad to hear it? But do you understand? Sarah Marie asks, how did you come more in touch with your spiritual gifts here? One thing that they're having me say, which is true, by the way, is I did really work at it. I think I just kind of took it and run with it as it started to show up. In some ways, there were things that were instant, but it wasn't always instant that I was like this, where someone could just ask a question and I'd get the channeled answer. For me, it took a few years to unlock to that level and, manifest to that level and get to that place. So I'd say for me, it took effort, it took practice showing up. It was also just partly, or however much it was, just divinely orchestrated with just my path and the way I was guided to certain people who I could learn a thing from, or certain experiences where I would channel for someone in a certain way. And I'd realize I could do it. I'd be okay. And then I have that experience. I could take that forward and channel for more people and do different things and expand it. So it was the effort and practice, work put into it. It was divinely orchestrated pathway where I was just led to the people, experiences, things that would teach me, to get more in tune and get more in touch. In part, it was also manifesting it. So it was the journey, I suppose. And there are a lot of little tips. I'm sure there's a lot of advice and tips I could provide depending on the person and what they need to hear and what I'm guided to say for them. I think in part it can also just be going on your journey, going to things you're drawn to, whether it's modalities or practicing doing readings for people, doing readings for your friends, there's a lot of different things that can help. But I'd just say there was probably a lot that went into it with all of that here. Some other things that could help would be to help go further, attunements, energy healing attunements, in learning modalities you're drawn to in that way are things that can really kickstart, help you open up and unlock your gifts more. Then, something I'll say pretty frequently is as you're doing, practicing sessions for people. They don't want me to go this direction for it right now for some reason, but you're also showing up and putting yourself in positions to practice and work with your intuition as you're doing practice sessions for people or going to shares or things like that. So, a lot of different ways you can go about it, but those would be a few starting things, I guess, if that makes sense. Hopefully that helps. Yeah, you're welcome. Oh yeah, I do have a book. I'd really like to expand that book too, after the past few years, but I did put a book out there into the world around the end of 2020 called Spirit Guides, Angels, and Speaking with Source. And there are a lot of like etheric or like energetic downloads, like channel transmissions. It was meant to be a channeled book on how to speak to your spirit guides and work with your intuition for the highest good, of course, and angels, source, beings of the true highest light for the highest good. So that's an option too if you feel drawn to it. There's a lot of good energies in that to help unlock that as well. And yeah, if you feel drawn to it, that's on Amazon, I believe. You can also find links to it through my website and stuff. So it's a couple different avenues. But I would go towards what you're drawn to, honestly, and then just keep practicing showing up. Thank you, Marina. I appreciate it. Okay, so I'm going to do the, in just a second here, I'm going to drink some water. Desiree, it's a good book. About time for me to read it. Awesome. But I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it did good things for y'all and you liked it. The name of the book is Spirit Guides, Angels, and Speaking with Source. Brandon, you're a really good dude, like a precious gem. Thank you, Lainey. I really appreciate it. Okay, they are really indicating it's time for me to start the full channel mode message, so I might give it like 2 seconds. My sun sign is Virgo, but don't judge me. I'm just kidding. You can judge me if you want. Super struggling lately. Glad to be here. Oh, I'm sorry to hear it, but I hope things get better for you. Way better for you. I don't know why I'm feeling called to tell you to check out some sound healing or something or go to a sound bath, but maybe that would help clear some stuff or help you out in some way. 444. Hey, 444, your time. Perfect. I'm Virgo too. Heck yeah. I think Virgos are, I don't know. I think Virgos are underrated is what I was going to say, but that's, I'm sort of joking, but not really. Because I think one thing I've learned is to just not judge any of the signs. It really has to do with more, I think part of it is like how much have they evolved? How much have they gone through their journey? How much have they evolved what they're working with, if that makes sense? I think that can be more important than the hand you're dealt, if that makes sense. Maybe there are some astrologers that would disagree with me, but okay, they wanted me to keep that to myself, so I will. But I really feel like you can work with anything and evolve it and get it to a good place, so. I'm not the stereotypical Virgo. I'd like to think I'm not either, but I hear you. I hear you on that one. Oh, totally. Brianna's saying, yeah, astrology is so much more too than just one sign. Absolutely. I think that's where some of the people who go really shallow with it get lost, is there is so much more to a chart and what's going on. And I think a lot of really good astrologers wouldn't judge just based on sun sign. If they're very intuitive and they approach it very intuitively, they'd probably get, information beyond, that anyways. But, and you can just read someone's energies regardless of their sign, but depending. Okay. I'm going to start the channel because they've been pestering me too for the past few minutes here. So, I'm going to give it one more second, but for anyone new here, it's really just, the soul chart stuff is really interesting. I don't think I've heard about that. That sounds interesting. Yeah, but anyone new here, most of you know, you're familiar. Just going to close my eyes. Spirit guides, angels, and source will be speaking, directly through me. So I'm going to step out of the way and see what they'd like to bring through for you. And, there's the message, the verbal information. There's also the energetic transmission from source that it also does, energy healing, energy work, upgrades, whatever's for the highest good is in addition. So it can be about the frequency and the energies and the work that's done. And of course, it's for the highest good through that, just as much as the words, and maybe sometimes more, but it really depends on, I guess, what's needed for each message. So let's see. Let me sit with that. What else? We're just going to start and see what happens. So give me like a minute to just kind of sit, and they will start whenever it's for the highest good. I'm going to drink one last thing of water before we begin here. Okay. Hello and welcome to today's channeled transmission. And this is going to be about release, and in some ways cutting the crap. Some of the ego crap, or just some of the crap you have been sticking yourself in unnecessarily. And this is going to be a bit more energetic in that regard. We may not speak to it too explicitly, but we'd like to let you know that's what's going on, because you may feel some release, some letting go with this message. And it is about ascension. Because sometimes you need to cut the crap in order to ascend to a higher level. And this is not to get you to beat up on yourself or judge yourself. To the contrary, it's just to get you to consider, to see perhaps with more clarity where you are holding on to the crap that's been fed to you by the collective, others' energies, the TV, people in your world, parents, not to judge them or beat up on them either, but more just to see things as they are and allow you to begin to let go of the things that are not you. Because becoming you is the main theme. And in some ways, the trash is everything that's not you. Not literally, not from every angle or perspective you take. But in this instance, with this message, what we're trying to get you to do is stop identifying with the crap that is not who you truly are. That is not your soul. That is not what you need to be, and that is not what you are meant to be. Because there's a lot of crap that you are sold is what you are, whether it is the stories you have of yourself or life, your beliefs, your thoughts, perhaps even your actions. Because once you start to undo some of the human programming, the mental programming you are subjected to, in some ways energetic, depending on the stance you take with how parenting works, how society raises its children. You begin to unearth you, more of your soul you. But you have to let go in order to do that. Let go of your ideas, let go of your assumptions, let go of your presumptions. And again, let go of the ideas people have handed you that are not really you. It is so easy to identify as a thing in order to find meaning before you connect with yourself more spiritually. For example, sports team fans will identify with a sport or with a particular team. And we do not judge them for this. We in the etheric do not judge. That is a human thing, or more of a human thing. But perhaps you learn to identify as a Raiders fan, to use an American football team for the example. We realize worldwide football might be the greater sport, but bear with us, for that is a sign for some of you that this message is for you, and it will make more sense as we go along here, at least for some of you. You are not really a Raiders fan. You are you. You are a soul here on earth, doing what you're here to do, waking up further, unearthing more of your process to become who you are meant to be. And you might enjoy the Raiders greatly. You might get life lessons out of it. You might get to enjoy time with the people around you, such as your parents or siblings or friends, and bond over the Raiders as the football team. But that is not who you are. You are identifying as a Raiders fan. And you are sort of attaching yourself to that team in a way, to identify with the group, People do this with nationality. I am an American. I am a Canadian. I am a Jamaican. Of course, they might do that more in their own language. But that is not who they are. That is just a country they grew up in. And you might argue on a human level, it influenced your growth, the ideas you were fed on a human level, the things you identify with. And that is true in some regards. But that is also, in some ways, the program that is not you. The way you identify with a nation, the way you identify with a sports team, the way you may even identify with your job or career. You may identify as a firefighter, as an example, but that is more something you are showing up to do, more than it is something that is you. You are playing the role of a firefighter. You are a soul on earth playing the role of a firefighter. But that is not all that you are. That does not define you. It might define some of your experiences, may help you grow in a certain way, may help you learn certain things. But it is not your full, true identity as a soul. And some of you already get this, but we are really feeding you this information to help you let go, to loosen the grip on your human identity just a little bit, to allow things to shift so you can kind of shed that old skin, to allow yourself to let go of that role a little bit more. One person may identify, to use the United States political system as an example, as a Democrat or as a Republican. But they're not really those things. They've soaked in a lot of the ideologies, trains of thought, ideas that those groups or their propaganda purports, and they have learned to identify that thing as good, and being that thing as good, and seeing the opposite side as bad, which is not the truth. There's much more nuance to all the people in those situations. And if you were to meet people on the street without ever figuring out their political affiliation, you might greatly like many people that are on a quote-unquote other side. Just as if you were to meet someone who was a fan of an opposing or rival sports team, compared to yours, you might greatly love and like this individual without learning that they are identified with the opposing team, if you will. Because those things do not matter as much when it comes to a heart level, a soul level, who and what you truly are. They can matter in some ways, they can tell you some things about that person, but it is not the total truth of that person. It does not mean that that individual's beliefs align totally with that group's in the ways that you might assume or imagine based on the information you are fed about that group. They might agree with half of it. They might just not know any other way. And again, that is not who they are. They might be forced into a great period of distress if they were to go against those ideals in that moment of their life, from their family, from some of their peers. So for them, they may not be ready to let go of that identity for the strife it would cause if that individual's parents, for instance, were staunchly religious and identified with their religion, or staunchly political and would disown their child if they left the religion or affiliated with a different party. Some people are a bit more extreme like that. But it is important not to judge people based on their identity in that way, which to some of you, this sounds a little bit basic as far as information goes. But again, there's the energetic transmission, and there's more we are getting to here. That's a little bit deeper here. Because how do you unearth that soul self? One, you are doing it right here with that transmission. 2, you can, of course, set the intention, you can manifest it, and let the universe take care of the rest and lead you on the trail and the adventure and the journey that will get you there in the right time for you. Some of you are so ready to let go of the human identity. Some of you are already there, of course, but some of you are so ready to let go, it would just be a boop on the nose and it would release. It would all crumble to the dust and you would shed that skin so quickly, it might frighten you a little bit, as you might even wake up the next week just a completely different person, thinking in a completely different ways. For others of you, it might take more unraveling or a bit more work. But you can set that intention for starters. And 3 is realizing the truth between the actual truth and what is a human identification, or what is human ego, if you will. We do not like that phrase as much. We would say it can be overused and misconstrued, but you understand our meaning when we say this. Which is exactly what we are intending. As you learn to let go of the human identity, you can grow spiritually, you can realize who you truly are and who you're meant to be. And again, the roles might change around that. Your purpose might evolve as you grow and go through different phases of your life. So it might not always look like you being a healer, an intuitive, a teacher, a spiritual worker. You may have different roles in all of that. You might go into corporate jobs and out of them for spiritual work, and then back into corporate jobs, and then back out into a completely unrelated field. But you are carrying out your mission in all of it through the people you are meeting, through the work you are doing on energetic levels that perhaps you do not understand, the ways you are shifting things inside yourselves and others as you go about this. But you are always exactly where you need to be, as a reminder. But hold your identities loosely to a certain extent. Not to the point where you don't necessarily have any identity, unless that feels right for you, which will only be a few of you. But to the point where you can allow yourself to morph out of those identities. No matter how good they seem in this moment, compared to other options, when it comes to how people view you for those things. And there's the trap. Sometimes people will take an identity just because people will view it favorably. But what about 10 years from now, when all that shifts? You have to scramble to find a new favorable identity. When party girl is no longer the thing that is cool. Just an example. But that is again where the soul comes in. For if you were to go, soul, what would you like me to be? Soul, what would you like us to be this day, this year, going forward? What identity would you like me to take on, if any? What role would you like me to play? And you were to play with that a bit more and work with the universe on these things. You would be very surprised at what you became. And many of you will be. Because it might be totally different than you expect. You might become someone who plays the role of a nurse. Someone who is a healer. Someone who is a channeler for others. There are so many things. But it may not be what your ego would expect, what your human would expect, based on society standards, based on what society tells you to be, yada yada. You understand us. You get us. So let's open the path a little bit more with the rest of this message. Let's go ahead and have you try to be intuitive. And some of you will have a breeze with this. For some of you, this will be newer to you. But see if you get an intuitive answer to any of these questions, whether it is a channeled message or word you hear, an intuitive visual you receive that is a role or something of that nature that answers your question. Perhaps you will just get a clear cognizant knowing of something, to use that word. But see if you get an answer to this question. What role is your soul calling you towards? What role on the human level is your soul calling you towards? And sit with that answer. You can write it down if you have something handy. Write it down on your phone. Whatever works for you. If you don't get anything, don't worry. Just sit with the energy. Try again later. See if the universe answers you in a different way following this through a sign, a conversation with a friend, etc. Next, ask the question, am I being who I am meant to be right now? What does your soul say? What do your spirit guides say? What does your intuition say? Are you being who you are meant to be right now? Next question. Who am I meant to be next? And what will it take for that to happen? Who am I meant to be next? And what will it take for that to happen? And lastly, if I didn't need to have a role, what would I be? A bit of a brain twister for you, but that is why we are asking you to ask your intuition, to see beyond the veil, to see beyond the illusion, to see more of the truth, if not the entire truth, and try to get some answers for your next steps. And again, if nothing comes, do not worry. It's meant to be something to play with. But all of you are meant to be greater than a role. All of you are greater than a role. Because you are a soul, you are a source and source is you. You are beyond all of this, but you are playing the human game, as you are supposed to. So this concept of roles is something we will get you to play with, so you can unlock more of the truth within yourself, see a bit more clearly about who you are, if it is the right time for you. So we leave you there. There's one more thing we'd like to get to, one quick exercise. Go ahead and visualize yourself. You can be standing in a room. You can be standing in a room in your home. This will be like a quick guided meditation, so you can treat it like that. And see yourself in clothes representing your current role or roles. Perhaps you are a mother and you are wearing a mom dress. We are not here to beat up on your fashion, by the way. It is just an example. The clothes may make cognitive sense to your role, or they may not. But intuitively, they will make sense. Energetically, they will align. Now you are going to visualize yourself discarding your old role. That's for the highest good for you to discard. Your old ego attachments, if you will. And do not worry, we will not be seeing you naked or anything like that with this visual, but you are in your private room in this visualization. Go ahead and discard of the clothes that represent your old role, who you used to be, what no longer fits, what is dirty, what you are ready to let go of. And you can either throw these clothing items in the trash or put them in a donation pile close to the door in your room or something that feels right to you. Put them in the closet to get rid of them later. It's just an exercise. You can't mess this up. But now you are either going to go to a clothing rack in this room or the closet, and you're going to pick out new clothes. And if you can receive this information intuitively, that would be probably best. So see what you are guided to put on. See what you are guided to wear. And you may get hints at a new physical role that is coming in for you. For example, if you are meant to be a doctor, you may see a doctor outfit. But it does not have to be this way. Just let it be intuitive. And with this exercise, you are setting the intention to change your roles, become more of who you're meant to be, really kickstart that energy to letting go of the things that are no longer you, that no longer belong with you, so you can shift into who you're meant to be, energetically, physically, on all levels. So go ahead and put those new clothes on, whatever you are guided to, whatever shows up for you. You may just see those clothes automatically on you intuitively or in a channeled sense. When you are ready in this exercise, you're going to visualize yourself stepping out of the room or the building you are in and showing it off to the world, being that role in society, in the world, interacting with other people in this, seeing how it feels different energetically. And you are setting the intention you are well received in this role you are meant to play, in this aligned way you are being. So you are shifting the energetics into being the new you. Letting go of the old ego stories, the clothes that no longer fit, the identities, owning up to who you really are, and that's a positive thing. And shifting into the new you. So you can come back to your body, wherever you are at, on this physical earth plane. Come back to the room you are in, wiggle your fingers and toes. You can stay in a meditative state for the rest of this channel, or open your eyes physically if you feel called. Whatever works for you. But we are about to wrap this up. So we are wishing you well on your journey to the new you. And all of you are ready for that shift. All of you are ready to shed the old stories, the old you, and step into the new role. This may take years to show up. This may take months. This could show up tomorrow. It really depends on what you are ready for, how quickly you can let go, what the universe deems is for the highest good for your path. So you are working with the universe in your way with this. And no timeline is better than the other. It is just what is right for you. So with that, we leave you. We are wishing you peace, well, and ease. And we will see you in the future. A new you, hopefully. But at some time, you definitely will be a new you listening to us. If you are to stick with these messages or come back in the future after a bit of your own journey. And we wish you well with all of that. So, farewell for now. We are out of here for now. Though, of course, we will still be with Brandon and with the live. And we will see you in the future. Take care. LOL, I put on sweats and a t-shirt. Time to chill. Time to relax. Maybe. So much releasing from this message today. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome, Amber. Amber Cornelius is such a cool name, by the way. It's very official sounding. You're welcome, Sydney. Yeah, I hope that was great. Woo. So close to 100K. Oh, you guys just did it. Thanks for 100,000 likes, guys. That's super cool. Appreciate ya. Ooh, so reaffirming. Perfect, Ella. You're welcome, Duchess. Thank you, Cheryl. I got confidence from that. So good. Perfect. Sounds perfect. Kind of just envision myself in comfy clothes. That's okay. That works. That means something. That's a good thing. That felt beautiful. Perfect, Bree. Thanks for letting me know. So glad to hear it. So much of today's messages have been literal. That works too. That works too, Jessica. Really cool exercise. Heck yeah, glad to hear it. I put on all black clothes and there was a bow and arrow and tan backpack. Warrior, or sounds like adventure to me, but I'd let it evolve into what it's meant to, of course. I think that'll make sense to you too in the future. I don't think it's literal. Maybe it'd be funny if it was. But I do, of course, I feel like it's about adventure and becoming a higher you, but don't limit it to that. Thank you, Brandon and team. Lots of fun inquiries. You're welcome. Thank you, Brandon. Definitely a boost. You're welcome. So glad to hear it. I do have a pile in my box by the door. Oh, that's awesome. I love that. That was amazing. Awesome. So glad to hear it. Can't wait for you to post this so I can do the exercise again. Heck yeah. I will. I saw myself in heels and proceeded to argue about it, but loved it otherwise. I love it. That's awesome. You're welcome, Catherine. I'm so glad to hear it. You're welcome, Jazzy. So glad to hear it. It was amazing. That's awesome. Perfect. Wow, a lot of shifting. Perfect. Glad to hear it. How's it get even better than that? Ooh, Wheel of Fortune. Very nice. That sounds big. Oh, is it over? We just wrapped up the channel message at the end, Bree. Good to see you, though. Desiree says that they think theirs was pointing them to work with others in a professional alt healing. I'd say yeah. I'd definitely go with what resonates for you. And if it, I don't know if it will, but if it redirects sometime in the future, that's okay too. But I would encourage you to go that direction if you feel called to it. That's what I'm getting to say. Hey, Leo, good to see ya. Perfect, River. That's awesome. I've literally been getting rid of old clothes. I'm looking online for new ones. It's exactly, oh, that's so cool. What I saw, that's perfect. Lainey says, got to figure out how to stay me, but step into my gifts more. You will, Lainey. Pictured myself morphing into a blue being with a black bodysuit on. I think I get that's a sign for you. I feel like that's important for you. Sounds, I don't want to put anything on it necessarily, but human-wise, it reminds me of like Arcturians or something like that. I think are usually depicted as blue, but I don't always get into that. Div says, silly question, but how do you know what spaces you should be in? I'm going to ask for clarification from you on what you meant, like if you meant like physical spaces or like when you're visualizing during the channels or anything like that, just to make sure I'm helping with the question. Heck yeah, Melissa. I was in flowing clothes and heard flowing glow. I love that. That sounds big in some way. Desiree, sound healing for physical healing of the body? Yeah, like any of it? I don't know. They're just saying like, yeah, any of it. So for some reason that could be helpful for you in some way, whether it's whatever you feel drawn to with it is what I'd say. Emotional healing, physical, whatever feels right to you regarding that. It was just what I was hearing. Heck yeah. You have a wonderful day too, Jazzy. The room I was in was a recording studio. Definitely need to channel the lyrics music. Heck yeah, lady. That's perfect. That's super cool. Marina, I don't feel like the bad dreams are a sign. You're welcome, Celeste. I feel like it's clearing, honestly. Ooh, interesting, Desiree. That sounds perfect. Okay, I think I need to close the live soon. I might wait just a second longer, but ooh, I'm not fading necessarily, but I'm starting to feel like I need to lay down or eat food or something. So I think probably gonna close the live in just a second here. You're welcome, Baking with Chill Beats. That's a cool name. It's probably what you post, right? But a little spacey there. Me feeling a little spacey. I don't know why saying me instead of I is funny to me, but it is. You're welcome, Desiree. You said leave the building. I was on a cruise ship. Well, maybe. Sometimes, you just have to let the intuitive visuals or the journey or the channel just take you on the whatever journey it takes you on, even if it's different than exactly what's being said, but sometimes not. So it really just depends on what you need, I think. You're welcome, Simone Elisa. I'm so glad to hear it was as amazing as always, or it was amazing as always. Thank you for letting me know too. And I hope you're doing really well out there, for sure. You're welcome, lady. Okay, I love you guys. I'm going to wrap this up here. If anyone feels drawn to it, I do have a monthly membership where we do longer full channel mode messages like that, channel guided meditations and things like that, weekly channel timeless pick a reading. So if you're drawn to it, you can check out my website for that, see if anything draws you there. I also have some other just channeled MP3s to help with transformation, like the Red package and things like that on my website. So see what you're drawn to on that one and trust your intuition on it. And I do have 2 classes coming up. I have the 4 Angelic Fires, which is an energy healing modality I received and channeled through in 2022, started teaching, last year as well. And then we also have, if anyone's taken the 4 Angelic Fires and the second class for that modality, there's the 3rd class coming up, which is brand new. The first class called the Master Fires, which will be late July. I guess both of those will be later in July. But so if you're drawn to that, that's going to be coming up. And I'm super looking forward to all that and whatever else they have for me to do here in the next while. So any personal readings happening? No, I'm getting to just stop doing those, honestly, at least for now, but it could be for a while. Me personally, I need something else. It's not like the readings weren't going well for people or anything like that, but for me personally, they haven't been working. So I need to walk away from that, at least for a while is what I'd say, and kind of shift my business. Otherwise, I'm not going to be happy, and it's just not going to go as well for me on that level. So, and that's no fault of your guys' necessarily. That's a shift I need to make on that one personally. Otherwise, I will probably end up being sad in some way, to put it very simply. Totally get it. Yeah. Is it too much? For me and for where I'm at, yes. For whatever reason, for me, it was a bit too much of a drain and too much, I want to say too much picking up on other people's stuff, going into it. Or it just wasn't the right thing for me long term, if that makes sense. I think it was right in the moment. I really loved doing it for starters. It just kind of evolved where I didn't as much anymore for whatever reason. And I just have to do something else. So yeah, I'm definitely happy. Yeah, no, I understand, Jessica Jensen, but the right thing will definitely come in for you, and I'm sure the right thing for me will come in for me, or is. So I know I cried like a baby during ours, so it has to be a lot. Yeah, it can be. It really can be. Okay. So I love you guys. I so appreciate everyone who showed up today. I appreciate anyone who sent gifts. I appreciate the 105,000 likes, which is awesome. I think, yeah, so I really appreciate all you guys. I hope you are doing fantastic and continue to be. And I will definitely see you on the future. Yeah, I'm sorry, Marina, because you said, Marina says, I feel sad that I missed the opportunity. I'm sure you'll find a great reader for you in the future, 100%. And I can always refer you to some people if you feel called to ask for it. I know a few that are really good. So, and there's one in, well, never mind. I was going to say something, but they don't want me to. Oh, I appreciate you guys too. All right, guys, I'm sending love. I appreciate you guys. I'm so appreciative to get to do this for all of you. And I'm so glad to hear all the really great feedback and all that. So I am wishing you well. And I think I am signing out for this live, but I will see you next week and hopefully throughout the week on TikTok or wherever that I'm guided to post. So I'm wishing you well, and I will see you guys in a bit here. Okay.